very important to us. All operators are busy at this time.
It's playday 12 of 6 Masters. Welcome on in. We've got two very important series to play out tonight. A bit of a battle of the top and a battle of the bottom. My co-host is going to be, of course, Dev Marta. Welcome, Dev. It's a beautiful day today. It's a beautiful day for Siege.
Yes, it's a beautiful night, actually. It is currently about 7 p.m., quarter to or so, but look, I'm sure it's daytime somewhere, Zenox.
It feels like it's daytime in my room right now. It's that bright. But look, it's daytime everywhere at some point, right? Massive amount of games tonight. I'm excited. You're excited. We've spoken at length pre-broadcast about what we think is going to happen tonight. Cannot wait to see how it all plays out. Of course, you guys can let us know how you think it's going to play out tonight on the socials below, especially get involved on that poll vote. You guys were all correct pretty much last night, Dev. A couple of us were wrong and a couple of us were right. But we head into tonight's matchups and I'm excited.
Yes, me too. We've got some banger games with Wildcard Elevate, who I think a lot of people have been anticipating this match coming into this season. You've got Elevate, who are seed 1 out of coming into 6 Masters, coming second in the Pro League last season, and Wildcard, who are the most esteemed team in this league. And then later on, you mentioned the battle down the bottom as well. So lots of opportunities there for even teams that maybe haven't seen a map yet. Poor Kanga down the bottom. And especially coming off the back of some great games yesterday, particularly incredible performance from Vinny on Sinister and Itby style from Akami. It just makes me want to keep watching more of Siege.
Yeah, yesterday was an amazing day for Siege. Sinister pretty much did what they pleased with LFO, and Akami kind of shocked us a bit with how they were able to 2-0 dismantle Pittsburgh Knights. You know, we had Strider in the interview to close off last night. He said they were heartbroken, and I gotta say, I felt heartbroken for them. As we recap the standings, Sinister currently occupying first place. We do expect that, though, to not be the case at the end of the night.
Yeah, very much so. Wildcard is on the hunt to take on Sinister. You'll notice that under the matches column, some teams have played more maps than others, and that's because we missed out on Playday 10. And of course, we've got some matches to play tonight. So, you know, Wildcard has more opportunities to get points than, for example, Sinister, who's played 4 extra games. So we're definitely going to see a lot more shifting on the standings. I think most notably here you see Elevate, who have actually slipped all the way into 5th, and they're still within distance of getting LFO or Ferox jumping over them. In fact, if Ferox wins 2 maps tonight, they will also be on 15 points, just like Elevate sits at the moment. So that's really the storyline I want to be harping on. Elevate kicked out of that top 4, and it's definitely where they thought they could be coming in first seed into this season. And I think that they're going to be gunning for at least to get in that top 4. And even that's not enough for them. I think they want to be gunning for the very top.
Yeah, and obviously for Elevate themselves, they've only got 1 more series to play, which is next week against Akami. Akami have got 2 more, so they've already got the matches advantage. They're already 6 points ahead of them. That's going to be very difficult for Elevate to knock Akami out. They need to get something from tonight, at least one map, and then do the job against Akami. And from there, their fate will be determined on that final playday, which, as you mentioned before, technically playday 10 that has been postponed. Down the bottom, though, of course, the two teams we're going to be seeing tonight, Team Ferox and Kanga. It's hard to... It feels a bit disingenuous to have Ferox as a sort of a second last versus last, considering they're 9 points. They're still within a chance. Of course, they didn't play last week either. They've got a chance to catch up here. And truth be told, Dev, everyone has beaten up on Kanga. If Ferox do the same here, it puts them right back in with a chance for top 4 with 2 playdays still to play for them.
A lot of people might mistakenly look at these standings and think, oh, Ferox, there's not a chance at getting top 4, but I think that's really wrong. If there's any team here that's most likely going to get knocked out of that chance for top 4, it's probably the Pittsburgh Knights, because while they are currently sitting there at number 4, they've played, as you say, 12 matches, whereas teams like Ferox, LFO, Elevate, who are nipping at their heels, all have played less and have more opportunities to get points, but it's going to come down to these last 4 playdays and how they play out.
Yeah, let's have a look at the schedule for tonight's playday. Of course, we had last night's games, but for tonight, Elevate versus Wildcard will be up first. The Battle of the Giants. You coined this pre-broadcast, Dev, that you thought you'd pencil this in at the start of the season and it would be 1 versus 2.
Yes, and while Elevate's currently sitting at 5th and Wildcard's sitting in 2nd, I feel like once Wildcard has an opportunity to play as many games as Sinister has, they're likely to retake that mantle as the kings in Oceania. And Elevate, well, they've actually played more games than Wildcard, and they're still not sitting within that top 4. So that's absolutely the priority for Elevate at the moment, getting themselves back in the running for those top spots. But still, in my heart, while it might not be on the standings 1 versus 2, this is definitely the battle of Oceanic's best teams.
And the battle, of course, that will be coming up after that will be second last versus last. Kanga versus Team Ferox would be a massive opportunity for Ferox. It would be disastrous if they had to drop a map. You can all but count them out as top 4. So a bit of pressure on them to perform against Kanga. And I saw the snowball predictions. Many thought potentially a draw could be likely. Will be real. It's probably Kanga's best bet to finish off the season, to find a map somewhere. It would be in this matchup against Ferox. But of course, that will be later on. First up will be Elevate versus Wildcard. We'll look at the roster shortly, Dev, but I'm excited for this matchup. We'll look at Elevate first. We had Digital on before. Not sure if we'll get a suit from him tonight, but I'm sure we'll find some kills.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a lull for Elevate. Unfortunately, these past few play days with Knights, they lost in a 2-0 fashion in their last game, and they also dropped a map to Sinister previously as well. I think that's been a huge disappointment for Elevate, because for such a long time, these guys were first on the standings, and we looked at players like Red and God Legion and said, wow, these guys have been popping off last, as well. And we wondered, maybe Elevate are really challenging Wildcard for that number 1 spot. But as soon as they dropped just those 3 maps, plus the LFO map earlier in the season, we really have come into question not only Elevate's form, but whether they're actually going to have a chance at making playoffs.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think this is the telling point now. If they can't get anything from this series, you can all but count them out. And in saying that, it makes it very difficult then, because they are going up against Wildcard. They had their chances in the past few weeks. Unfortunately, they've got no one to blame but themselves, dropping so many maps. In fact, 4 out of their last 5 going against Elevate. So while they started the season in hot form, they weren't that great. As for Wildcard, on the other hand, they have been impeccable, only dropping 1 map so far. That was against LFO on Clubhouse. Not too long ago, only in week 3, but still they're the top dogs, just not currently in that top spot.
I mean, Wildcard is effectively in first place. They've played 4 less maps than Sinister, and they're only a few points behind. So I'm sure that they're definitely gunning for that number 1 spot. And that's really, for Wildcard fans out there, it's got to be quite a nice feeling to finally see Wildcard back into form, because Season 11 of Pro League, which wasn't that long ago, was the worst performance from Wildcard we have seen in a very, very long time. They went to 6 Invitational 2020. They didn't even win a map, and that was after peaking at Season 10 finals, almost taking out the eventual Pro League champions of Na'Vi. So we're talking about Wildcard, the team that's hit such great heights and then fallen to such great depths. And this is finally their opportunity in the 6 Masters to redeem themselves, and it's looking like they are on track to do so.
Let's get ahead with the map predictions, or what we think the maps might play out between Elevate and Wildcard. We have had a discussion beforehand. I've already sort of made my estimated guess based off what we've sort of got information on these two teams. I think we're going to be seeing Theme Park and Consulate. I'm going to get that out early. If I'm right, then I'll look a bit smarter. If I'm wrong, well, then I look like an idiot. But Dev, what are your thoughts going into these map predictions?
I mean, you've basically etched those in stone, right? But I understand your thought process. I mean, starting with bans, right? We talk about insta bans, and wildcard just always bans border. We're never going to see it from wildcard, so I think it's just a given. They're going to ban border. For Elevate, Clubhouse has been their most frequent ban. They did ban Villa that one time against LFO, and then LFO picked Clubhouse and absolutely smacked Elevate on it 7-2. So I'm going to take a safe bet that, especially since Wildcard are really good on Clubhouse, probably a smart ban for Elevate. So that does leave us with just 5 maps left in the pool, and we're wondering, well, where are we going to see it? Consulate, as you mentioned, is a great map for both teams, and probably the next best map in line for Elevate after border. So I expect that'll be their pick. But I don't know, like, there's still a lot of opportunities here. I feel like you could see a couple of ones because there's a couple of maps in here, for example, Villa and Theme Park, that we haven't necessarily seen a lot of from some of these teams.
Well, we're going to get the bans out of the way, and well, border immediately banned by Wildcard, and Clubhouse immediately banned by Elevate. Not much of a surprise there. One thing you did leave out was that border is usually picked by Elevate, right? So that's the double side of it. While Wildcard always ban it, we actually see Elevate usually pick it. They're not going to have that option today, but they would have known that coming into this matchup.
Yeah, and so that's a great point. Now, the insta bans of each team is the favorite pick of the opposite team, which is kind of ironic in this scenario. But I mean, your prediction was that it was Theme Park you thought Wildcard was going to pick, right?
I did.
Well, I'm going to say that, like, Wildcard have played Theme Park 3 times, but they have never picked it. So I'm going to go against you here, and I'm going to say I have a feeling that Wildcard is going to throw us a curveball and maybe pick Coastline, because they picked it against Kanga where they won 7-2, and there's basically no information on Elevate. They haven't played Coastline since January, and aside from that 7-2 against Kanga, Wildcard only played it in March. They did lose it to Fnatic, but it's a decent map for them. So I have a feeling, I mean, yes, they could pick Theme Park. I have a feeling maybe we'll see a Coastline, maybe even a Cafe creep into there.
I mean, you know more than me, and look, I wouldn't be too surprised. It's both of us being wrong, though, in all facets. I mean, because I even had Elevate picking Consulate. It's Wildcard picking Consulate, and a Villa comes through from Elevate. They've never picked it. They haven't played it this season. They banned it once, in fact. And for them to now come out and pick it against Wildcard, who they themselves have not played it at all. So maybe in Elevate's thinking process here, Dev, they've looked at this and said, they haven't really played it. Maybe we haven't really played it, but we've identified that we were never going to get border. Let's practice our Villa. Let's take them to something that maybe they're not as comfortable on.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it makes sense. It's the same kind of mentality of going for like that Coastline pick. Sorry, I'm just going to jot down these real quick. So it was actually Consulate for Wildcard. And yeah, we talked about Consulate. We thought it was going to be Elevate's pick. Pretty good for both teams, to be honest. But just going on for Villa, right? So we know that Elevate already banned it once this season against LFO, who are pretty good on the map. So I think that was just some smart research from Elevate. And the last time that these guys played it, that Elevate played it, was in January in Pro League against the Knights, and they won that 7-4. It was a very different Knights, though, and quite a different looking Elevate as well, back when they still had Geo. And then looking at from Wildcard's perspective, last time they played Villa was in March in Pro League, and that was a loss 3-7 against Akami. So I think that's maybe the fact that Elevate can still look at that VOD that was back in March. There's been a few changes since then, but it's reasonably recent VOD. I think that's what Elevate's going off of, hoping that maybe their improvements to Villa since January, well, will be able to help them out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had this one sort of penciled in, and now I'm very much embarrassed. But we did get the Consulate in the end, so we were kind of on the money there. And I guess the pun intended wildcard pick coming out, even though it's from Elevate to go to Villa, maybe it's that expect the unexpected mentality as well coming out from them. And I like it from Elevate. I think that if they can back themselves in, they're in a bit of a dry rut, as I mentioned earlier. They've lost 4 of their last 5 maps. It's time to maybe, you know, go to something where they can feel like Wildcard might not be able to play at their best, right? If Wildcard play at their best, they win this series 2-0. The way that they've been playing in Six Masters this series, take them to somewhere where they might be not as comfortable, maybe mess up a bit, and it gives them an opportunity. Let's go and have a look, though, what you guys think how this is going to play out. I suspect it's going to be mostly in Wildcard's favor, 53% def. Not too much of a surprise with this poll vote.
Yeah, that said, you mentioned there is that, I don't want to say the word wildcard. There is that kind of surprise pick of the Villa coming out from Elevate, and maybe that's going to be an extra ace up their sleeve in this one. Also, the fact that Consulate, we talked about maybe that would be a pick for Elevate because it's a good map for them. Well, Wildcard picks that, so it's not like Wildcard's map pick isn't also good territory for Elevate. So while this is, I'm still thinking that the safest bet is a Wildcard 2-0 here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a draw where Elevate, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they take Consulate just as much as Villa, but on the flip side, we could totally see them take both maps as well. Yeah. The last time these guys played each other, it was a wildcard 2-0 back in Pro League. They played Cafe, which wildcard won 7-3, and they also played, mind you, it was Consulate actually, yeah. So 7-2 last time these guys played Consulate. So despite that being picked by wildcard, I don't know, like what I'm getting at is anything is possible right now, even though it might look like it's wildcards on paper.
I think you can take that sort of frame of mind anywhere, though, that anything is always going to be possible. Elevate, you can't sit here and say they've got no chance to take this 2-0, let alone take the series as a draw. Wildcard's got to be aware of that and make sure that they don't come into this matchup with a bit of incompetence and feeling like, okay, we're just going to walk in and get a quick 2-0. I still expect the 2-0 to Wildcard. That's going to be my sort of prediction. My vote myself is that I suspect Wildcard will take this series out, but Elevate will probably put up a fight. I'd like to at least see that. Unfortunately, though, if that does then happen, Elevate's chances of top 4 is basically done.
That's a great point. Elevate only have this game plus the Akami match next week to go in the Six Masters, and as we mentioned, they're currently sitting in 5th place, so that's not it for a playoff spot. If they can get one map here, then they'll need probably still to get both maps against Akami, even for a chance at heading in those top 4. But to be honest, the more I look at this, especially with the ban phase, Consulate being Wildcard's pick and being a good map for both teams, and I'm going to back that up. Like, Elevate beat Ferox here 7-3, beat Kanga here 7-2, they beat LFO 7-4. So, like, the last time Elevate played poorly on Consulate was against Wildcard last season, and on that night, Elevate was just off. So there's totally a chance here that Elevate could not only take Wildcard's map pick, but both.
Well, we're going to get straight into our first map of the night. It's going to be Consulate between Elevate and Wildcard. A lot on the line as we get closer towards the end of this season of Six Masters. Every game is more important than ever. All these points up for grabs. Would like how fun everybody involved to the ban phase we go. One thing I want to just touch on a little bit going back, just for the slightest of moments here, but if Elevate can get a map off Wildcard and then 2-0 Akami, Dev, they will be in the top 4 with only then Akami to play Wildcard in that final play day, which by all means, Wildcard could very well 2-0 Akami. It's must that Elevate do get a map here tonight.
There you go, the stakes have been written. We see the first few bans coming out. Nomad banned out by Wildcard. Nomad is just so good for countering these aggressive runouts that are really prevalent on Consulate. So especially if Valkyrie is left in, that's going to be really oppressive for the defenders. Pulse is another great operator for that kind of aggressive play. You can get information, get one of your teammates to run out on the back of it. So Elevate in their response to that Nomad pick. Maestro, okay, so I'm going to put some context here. Like, Maverick gone means that it's really going to be all about Thatcher and Thermite for that garage take rather than Maverick opening the wall. Nice little ban there for Elevate, just forcing, I assume it's Diesel who usually plays the Maverick, to kind of change things around a little bit. You won't have the grenades as well. But then that Maestro ban, maybe that's kind of in response to that Maverick ban, because usually, let's say you're bringing a team comp, you don't bring the Thermite, you bring the Maverick instead. You have those grenades, you can get rid of those Evil Eyes. But I don't know, like, that's just conjecture, but I can totally see that Maestro ban being directly targeted to kind of be a response to that Maverick ban.
Well, if you're wondering why I mentioned the mirror, and I was surprised to not see it, it's mainly because it had been banned like 13 times in a row, if I recall. I'm not even sure if actually I counted onto that from last night, where it was banned. She was banned 4 times in a row again last night. So that streak is now broken. And last night was the streak breaker as well for LFO's draw streak, and well, Mirror's ban streak is now over as well. CON meeting on the second floor of Consulate will be our first attacking point for Elevate and Wildcard's defense, of course. Our first matchup of the night, first map of the night. We've all just started. settle on in. It's going to be a fun night for everyone involved.
I love watching these teams just because these teams both play such a high level of Rainbow Six. I mean, it's always a treat to watch Wildcard and whatever strategies they've brought to the table. And Elevate is the same. I do want to point out Ethan's running this Valkyrie. It was 6 picked onto. Obviously, Elevate are going to be aware of the Valkyrie on account of that drone spotting it. But notably, I mentioned how... Ooh, is he going to get the second drone? That's 2 drones in prep phase that has been taken out for Elevate. That is huge. Do not undervalue how much significant that is going to be a dent in Elevate's information gathering. But I'll get back to what I was saying, which is that Ethan pops off on this Valkyrie. He went absolutely nuts in week 2 against Ferox. And especially with that Nomad ban, it's going to really allow Ethan to just be oppressive, jump out any windows that he likes.
How aggressive are you expecting Wildcard to play this? At times you see a very heavy roam, other times you got the turtle play, but I think the vertical control down the first floor is going to be very vital as well. No mirror, but still, you'd think that they're going to be a bit aggressive on that first floor.
Yeah, I mean, that pulse getting banned does kind of change a little bit of that roaming potential because usually you would use that to roam underneath. But I think this is really going to hinge around some of these key choke points. For example, the yellow stairs here, very common place to play your smoke. Diesel, one of the most well-renowned smoke players in the region. And that's why we see Elevate shaping up with some grenades from Worthy, as well as Thatcher EMPs to destroy those ADSs from the Jaeger. And of course, Vast with those firebolts on his crossbow can help try to pinch out Diesel. But there's the support of Pat as well nearby. With the Wamai, he can throw out those magnets to protect Diesel even further.
Minute and a half remaining for the first round. I think it's imperative that Elevate get off to a good start here. Ethan down below, causing a bit of mischief, Dev.
Yeah, he's keen to make a play. He used his C4 to open up the garage wall. Now, you can run out from the garage wall and peek onto players rappelling on the CEO windows, and they can't shoot back at you because of the angle. Oh, it might be an opportunity for Geo here. Oh, no! What was that? All he landed was a single bullet, just hitting the window frame far too much, but Digital's taken a lot of damage, I think, from the smoke in the meanwhile. And Diesel, with a minute left, he's still safe here, and with 1 gas babe remaining.
Big reprieve, but still Elevate now running out of time as they're even struggling to just repel in Diesel. Again, buying so much time, pushing over to yellow stairs too. Expecting to push up, Bubba's there too. As Pat found the opening kill, Elevate in a really tricky situation with only 40 seconds remaining for this first round attack.
And Emo's playing so aggressively here. Pat finds his second, but that's yellow stairs control forfeited. Pat finds for 3. But then Emo Rin is traded out. Vast on the rappel, last man standing now. As Pat's gone for a 4K thus far. Vast really needs to clutch this one up, but doesn't look possible. 20 seconds to go in a 1 versus 3. Caught in that crossfire as well. Pat on for the ace, but no, it's not going to happen. Peeked from behind is Ethan. And Wildcard, quite a convincing first round on the back of Pat going huge with 4 kills.
Great start for Wildcard. Not sure exactly how much pressure you'd be feeling if you are Wildcard in this scenario. We've spoken at lengths about the fact that they've got games in hand. They're sort of playing catch up. They're sitting in second place already with 21 points, and they've got like, what, 4 games or so off the top of my head to get back into that first spot. They're probably not feeling too much pressure here. Elevate on the other coin though, Dev, would be feeling it all, knowing they've got to get something out of this series, not the start they'd like to see. In saying that, from what we've seen, especially from last night, the start, the first round, doesn't always provide a picture as for how not only the series, but the map is going to play out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, specifically because of the way Wildcard played that. And I mean, the way Wildcard won that, it was on the back of Pat getting 4 kills while playing that shield at long desk. Now, of course, we didn't see all of those kills. I'm not sure whether he peeked out aggressively, but at least the very first one was, I think, him just playing quite passively on the shield at long desk onto the CEO windows. And those kinds of kills, if that happens in 1 round, Elevate are going to know about it and then just be like, okay, maybe just be a little bit more aware of that angle, know that Pat's really keen to peek that, and Wildcard can't get away with winning on the same basis next time. So there's every opportunity here that Elevate's going to come back swinging, and this will continue to be a close game.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
I'm saying that I don't think Wildcard really did anything too unorthodox maybe Ethan down below in garage, but besides that, I thought they played it really, really well. Keen to see how this basement hold's going to go too. Elevate are going to, of course, have to deal with a lot of pressure from Wildcard. As one of the top teams of Six Masters this season, you expect them to be aggressive. Pat holding the first floor bathroom, usual to see. The Goyo there is actually a really good replacement as well, I think, since the mirror's not... Well, actually, the mirror is available. They're still not seeing... I'm so used to mirror not being in that I literally
don't blame you at all, mate.
It's been like 13 games in a row, but hey, still not using the mirror there.
Yeah, I mean, mirror, you could use her, as you mentioned, on the bathroom. Or you could use her mirror windows in the security room just to protect the bomb site. But it looks like Wildcard going for something a little bit less static. And in fact, Emo roaming at the yellow stairs. Got Ethan to support as well. And he finds that first kill. It's the hard breacher, no less. Digital, what are you doing upstairs when you haven't opened the main wall? That completely changes the dynamic of this round. And for Wildcard, there's no longer any opportunity that they'll have to worry about that main garage wall.
Attackers have recovered
And
their
similar to that first round too, where they, again, lost someone early, buy so much time for them. Wildcard, if they need to move pieces around, Patch is going to easily stay there in that first floor bathroom. Well, Elevate continue to move around. If Pat finds one here, never mind, it's going to be droned down. We'll go down the hatch, back down to garage. Minute 20 though, but I think Elevate may have just gotten control of this first floor area. Red finds Imarin, and from here they can make progress down into the basement.
Elevate seem to have decent control, especially flushing out that Vigil does make a huge difference. They don't have to worry so much. They can fully trust their drones now. Won't be having that static effect. And now it seems to be an Archives take. Ethan was hanging around back there, no doubt droned out. And of course, this bathroom take also quite successful and quickly droned out. No time wasted at all for Elevate. But of course, remember, that Thermite getting picked. If Digital was still alive, this would look completely differently right now for Elevate, and they have to change their plan and go for this east side push.
Still a bit of time, 30 seconds, and as you push in, even though they're going to be funneling from one side, you find a couple of frags, it makes it a lot easier. Wildcard are ready for it though. Diesel up front, Pats, as I said before, fallen down, fallen back. Smoke's going to be able to deny Elevate so much as Diesel then pushes in at the right time. Wildcard just collapse all at once. Together, they annihilate Elevate. They'll take this second round, and it all went wrong after losing the third mine of the early goings.
Yeah, really losing that Thermite at the start did limit Elevate's options, but despite that, they didn't do everything perfectly because Ethan there was allowed to remain in Archives. I don't know whether they droned him out and thought, okay, we can't push him, but then they just weren't holding his rotations, his flanks. So yeah, a bit messy there for Elevate, and it does make you wonder what had happened if it wasn't Diesel that was the opening pick, and sorry, Digital that was the opening pick. And I don't know, hopefully we see some improvements here from Elevate because we need to see something different here in order for them to get back into this.
Attackers need to locate and
We haven't seen them at their best yet though in this series. I mean, it's only been 2 rounds. It's not enough to cause a whole lot of judgment. In saying that, the 2 rounds that we've seen, they've lost a player early both times. It's hard to then really set up the way that you want to play. Right now, it does feel like the game is being played on Wildcard's home ground. Like this is, for whatever reason, they're playing like they've got an advantage at the back of them. Of course, they did pick Consulate, even though I thought Elevate would pick it. So Elevate should feel comfortable here on Consulate. This is not like a really one-sided map for them. They've just got to be a bit more cautious, pushing in early and making sure no one gets picked off. I think Digital definitely needs to heed that advice and not to be so rash pushing in the way he did in that last round. We'll see how it plays out though for round 3. Great start for Wildcard, not too much of a surprise so far.
And Ethan wants to continue this aggression. A great Valkyrie camera outside. Imarin, a couple love taps through the windows as well. Remember, last time these two teams played against each other, it was the Pro League Season 11. On this map, Wildcard 7-2 against Elevate. Now, that's a pretty damning stat right there, but Elevate, we know they've had good performances since then on this map. We know they can do it. They just need to start getting back into the form that we recognize.
It's hard to find that form though when As I said before, 4 of the last 5 maps haven't gone in their favor. That definitely does go into the favor of God Legion. Takes a lot of damage for it in the exchange with Imran. It does go down early, and it allows Elevate the pushing through admin on this east side. They can continue to clear the second floor, gain control, push down the first floor. They'll have the numbers advantage, at least for the time being. Diesel, though, in projectile, needs to be careful.
Using his gas to protect himself from that rappel on that balcony. Good work here from God Legion. Taken very low, as you said, in that first engagement means he's not likely to be getting aggressive in these later exchanges. Digital using a thermite charge to expose the angle deep into the conference room from Worthy. Just holding that angle now. Diesel sitting pretty inside, just waiting. And Elevate need to try to find a way to pitch him out. Could be Vars as the linchpin of that, but Diesel's actually just rotated back. There's no pressure from the windows on the west side of CEO, so he could just sit really comfortably in this room.
Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Still a minute remaining. Time to push over the more western side of the second floor, but of course the objective on that first floor. Nothing found elsewhere besides that initial pick onto Imran. The fact that God Legion's low, as you said, means he's not going to be really in the action, at least not at the initial stages of this push. It's bound to come in the next 20, 30 seconds or so. This is the meta. Wait to the last second, push in, clear all that utility, try and find an entryway. Try and open up as many entryways as you can. That way you don't all just funnel in from the same direction. 35 seconds though, leaving it to the last second. And it really does feel like it plays right into Wildcard's hands. They'll be ready for this push.
Gio was using his yokais to scout out smoke grenades from Vast. Signals to Wildcard, the push is coming through. Digital getting into his plant spot, but Ethan was going for a flank. Meanwhile, the flank is spotted out from Worthy's drone. Surely he's going to be punished here, but Pat does take out 1, 2 kills. The plant denied as well. This could be everything that Wildcard needed. Ethan, 2 kills. It's all on red now, and he's finished off. A 3-piece for Ethan and closing it with the Deagle. What a statement to make.
Three kills for the third round win for Wildcard. He made it look easy towards the end. Whips out the Deagle, still just picks up the kill no matter what. Wildcard are on top, that's for certain. Elevate had everything going for them in that round. The early pick, control of second floor, and yet still so much time wasted. Coming in with 15, 20 seconds left at best, maybe. Wildcard were in positions to go for a bit of a almost semi-roam there. You saw Ethan at the end pushing in, and they were completely caught off by surprise. 3-0 early on. Elevate have yet to really fire a bullet just yet.
Really did come down to, firstly, the fact that Pat was able to deny the plant. He not only denied the plant, but he also took out God Legion as well. Pat has been a player to watch so far in this matchup. I mean, we talk a lot about Ethan. He made MVP when they played against Ferox. And in fact, this map was Ethan's home playground on the Valkyrie and the Ash. But I want to credit Pat here for a second, because he's just been going nuts. And the last time this bomb site was selected for Wildcard, it was a fairly convincing victory on the back of 4 kills, thanks to Pat playing this Wamai, sitting at this shield at long desk. Now, I should hope for Elevate that they're not going to just fall victim to the same angles. We might see something a little bit stronger here on their second attack of CEO.
Fortunately for Elevate, though, there hasn't really been a close round. I mean, that last round was their closest, and yet still end up, if I remember correctly, with 4 alive for Wildcard by the end of it. And unfortunately, that means for Elevate, they're just struggling to win these duels. Yeah, they got an early pick in that last round onto Imran, who right now has probably had the worst of the bunch for Wildcard, but still he's able to find information for them. But Elevate just, as I said, have really lacked some firepower right now. Urgency as well. 2 minutes remaining, 4th round, Wildcard. I didn't expect coming into this that we'd see something like a 7-2 or a 7-0, but right now it feels like that could be a possibility for them.
That said, Elevate are pulling out all the stops here. We talk a lot about band operators. Ying has been very prominently banned, but Elevate bringing it for the second round in a row here. Vast attempting to use it to clear this utility and flash out Diesel. He spots him crossover, but Diesel fully flashed out safely now in private. Digital can't push on out, but a nade from Worthy does deal a lot of damage. Geo, though, meanwhile, finds the Ash of God Legion. Numbers still in favor of Wildcard. Ooh, I say that,
risky.
but...
Digital, I mean, expecting the run through from Diesel, who was already low, makes it even easier to just spray through that, expecting you only need 1 or 2 bullets to probably land anyway. And Ethan's got to be super careful. You breathe on him, he'll fall over. I wouldn't count Wildcard out of this yet, even though it's still a 4v4. Ethan's so low. Elevator got a lot of work to still do with only 55 seconds remaining. Worthy going to find Geo in the kill feed as Pat trying to put a lot of pressure on this window, but immediately the shots come from Red firing back. He took the first few shots, he stood his ground, and he was able to get the kill back. Ethan, though, able to find a trade. Imran aggressive, though, pushing right up to this window. Is it going to pay off for him, though? Doesn't land the shots. Red continues to just hold on in this rappel position and Elevate, stand their ground, take the round. Back in the game, they are.
Nice bit of finish there for Digital. Very aware of that run out. We did notice early flicking through between drones. There was a lot of good information there from Elevate, in contrast to that very first round when we saw Ethan take out 2 or 3 drones during prep phase. And I mean, I'm not saying that was the winning condition for the round for Elevate, but always important to keep your drones alive. I think what really made the difference there for Elevate in that round, despite losing that opening engagement where God Legion was taken out by Geo, not only did Vast clear all of the utility, all the ADSs and my magnets from Yellow Stairs using his Yin Candelas, but Worthy followed that up with a nade, which took Diesel to half HP. And then when trying to rotate back into Yellow from private, he was sprayed out by Digital. And that opening pick for Elevate opened up the round hugely. And Wildcard continued that aggression. You noted Emarin playing aggressively inside of console office, and that just hasn't worked either time. So we're going to see a slight adaptation here from Wildcard, not choosing to hard hold this Yellow Stairs, at least not quite in the same fashion. Full reinforcements here, and Emarin switching off of the Rook and onto the Clash.
Yeah, definitely maybe for Wildcard a bit overzealous in that last round. Can't really blame them. They've been playing extremely well up until that point, and it really just came down to the fact that Elevate were able to really just land their shots, win those duels. You know, Red at the window probably could have died 2 times before he even found the first kill, and yet was able to fire back, get one, then find a second one as Emarin pushed up to him. He was able to withstand that pressure too. So you find those 2 kills. In reality, maybe he shouldn't have even survived much more longer than that anyway. So Elevate get a reprieve. They get the round, and we'll see if they can build off that 2 more here in the half. And if they can somehow make it 3-3, the storyline really changes. They have all of the shifted momentum on their side going into then the next half.
Yeah, if Elevate can steal a couple rounds here, it will change the tide. But of course, I mentioned Wildcard don't seem to be phased at all. They're changing their strategies on the fly. Geo bringing the castle, and notably, there's not a ton of utility from the Elevate side to get rid of that. Aside from breaching charges, just got those 2 grenades from Worthy, and of course the sledgehammer if you can get close enough, but you're probably mostly going to be relying on God Legion's breaching rounds. And he's very aggressive all the way into admin, nice and early. Digital to drone him up, spots out the Clash. God Legion needs to be aware of that one. Vast, of course, holding the paper window. Now God Legion to drone himself up, sees the Clash once again. Decides to back on out.
He's terrified. It's like, oh god, it's a Clash, better run. Yeah, interesting. Minute 40 remaining, still time. I mean, theoretically, Elevate would probably still feel like they've got control of admin anyway. Trade comes out, so now it's a 4v4 scenario. They do lose the Candelas of Vast, as Digital will continue to just drone through. But the Wildcard, I think they're just content with sitting back here, turtling up a bit more, except for Geo, who's seemingly roaming down on that first floor, or at the very least, downward somewhere. Yep.
No C4s, though, for Wildcard at all, so they won't be attempting to deny plant with that method. I was going to mention that the best counter Elevate brought to the table for this Clash was the Ying, to flash her out and then potentially overwhelm her, but of course she was the first one to be taken out. That Ying's position was very much exposed by her covering that angle, and Ethan took advantage. But fortunately, Elevate traded it, God Legion. And Nade's going to come out maybe to try to get this clash, but of course, fairly well protected from the front from explosive damage. And you'll notice Imran only took a little bit of damage there, but God Legion to find another one, and that's Diesel. That's the primary plantinile of the smoke. That's a huge pick, and it opens things up for Elevate.
Wildcard very much relying on this clash position of Imran, but Elevate are doing really well to adapt, find picks around it. 20 seconds though. Imran has done well to at least buy time here, but Elevate going to push in. Digital's going to go for the plant. Pat's able to find red from CO front desk. Pre-fires that window, expecting a repel in potentially. Still have to deal with the window there as well over in Projector. Pat's very low, and they've just lost Imran as well. The clash is down. 35 seconds in a 1 versus 2. At long desk, time to move. God Legion will continue to hold this window. In fact, both of them will hold outside.
This is a very difficult position to try to retake. A player above him and so low on HP as well. Takes out that drone, but Pat, he's 9-1 at the moment. He's been on fire tonight. Surely he can't win this, though. Not against 2 players. And there you go, Worthy. Very cautious on that peak, but he does find it in the end. And Elevate secure 2 attacks back-to-back on this top floor.
And only one more round for the half. Elevate have responded after what was a fast start from Wildcard out of the blocks, picking up the first 3 rounds. Elevate looked a bit shaky, fair to say. A couple of mistakes, unusual mistakes, especially from like Digital in that second round. But they have responded. They picked up their game dev, and they look like they're here to play and compete. And they have forced Wildcard away from the second floor, back down to the basement in cafeteria and garage.
6 pick comes out and we don't see any switch. Are we going to see a mirror? No. Okay. The Qayyid. I'm actually surprised we're not seeing the mirror. I know you harped on a lot about its ban rate, but sometimes the case is that these teams are so practiced without mirror that they don't want to bring it. But there are some great ways to use mirror, specifically on this bomb site. You put one in the security office facing towards that main garage. You can get a lot of information to help your plant denial. And of course, you can put one upstairs as well. But no, it seems like the decision is instead to utilize the Qayyid, which, I mean, there was a tease out of the dock there. I don't know. Maybe it's because there's no Thatcher being brought at all from Elevate. I've got to say that's probably the reason here. It's going to be quite difficult. Yeah, actually, that's totally the reason here. That's absolutely it. Elevate aren't bringing the Thatcher. It's not banned. Wildcard have clearly identified that, and they're putting the Electroclaw in a position where it's very difficult to shoot, even once you take piano control. So I really like this move from Wildcard. A good read, a risky play, because if Elevate had brought Thatcher, it would have completely nullified Geo's operator pick. But that's why they had the dock selected and they 6-picked onto it. Really smart stuff here from Wildcard. I wonder if it'll work.
The other portion of that is that Goyo can play essentially the same role sitting in that first floor bathroom if Pat so chooses. I think he did it the first time around that we were in basement. Well, yeah, he definitely did. And so Goyo with that Vulcan shield is still able to sort of provide a similar impact in holding that position. Ethan, careful at yellow stairs. Even on the vigil, though, I like to see this. Aggressive, looking to see if they can spot anyone on that second floor. So if they've got control of second floor, first floor, and basement, the vertical control for Wildcard is impressive here.
That said, we do have the ultimate roam hunter here. And that spots out the Vigil. The man who can't be droned can still be scanned by Vast with the Inox on Jackal. Oh, but it doesn't matter. Surely not. God Legion got to be praying for his life, but somehow Vast managed to save him. And Imran once again goes down first without an impact.
Oh, he tried to bait him, get the last tracker thing as he was exiting around the corner, and then poked back, expecting the follow through. Ethan's just going to take his quick route down the hatch. Pat's still going to hold the position near that first floor bathroom. And Imran continues to struggle here on Consulate. Ethan's low. Wildcard are in a very precarious position here to end this half. Now very likely that Elevate can continue on, make it 3-3. Pat finds a C4 kill though. Still holds that first floor bathroom for the time being. Hasn't been flushed out.
Wildcard, once they got put in that devastate, they dialed up the aggression. It didn't work for Diesel, who tried to get aggressive, pushing up yellow stairs. Ooh, this Electroclaw might actually deny this wall in time. I think it's shot out, and Digital knows he's safe now. Elevate in a pretty strong position here. Oh, okay, especially now that it's a 4 versus 2. You can't read the kill feed. All the bans come out. But it's all on Geo. Ethan's down, and Geo just getting lit up, and he's finished off. Elevate in the half. 3-3 with a massive comeback.
Incredible from Elevate to respond in the manner that they did. I still don't even blame Wildcard for the way they played that last round. Even the play from Imran, you've got to take those sort of opportunities. Understanding he's getting followed. As I said before, used that last ping really well. Almost worked. Almost paid off, Emo. Unfortunately didn't, then you go and die early. And unfortunately for Wildcard, they just kept losing players elsewhere. As the round went on, Elevate did an amazing job to find those picks, find those roamers. They didn't even need to flush out the Goyo in the bathroom on first floor. But we go into this next half, and as I said a couple of rounds ago, Dev, if this was going to be tied at the half, the momentum will have shifted to Elevate, and it certainly feels like that right now. The mood in the room, I should say, feels like it's all on Elevate now.
Let's remember, this may have been Wildcard's pick, but Elevate have won it 3 times so far in the 6 Masters. They're in fact undefeated here on Consulate. We've seen some good performances from Wildcard, but they were pushed to the brink by Ferox and only barely stole this map away 8-7. That was when they picked it. So Elevate should definitely be aware that Wildcard were likely to take it to this map. And I think, you know, we talked about during the pre-show how much we expected this map was going to come out of this veto. So Elevate have done their homework, and while it was a slow start, they've definitely come into this well. And that Nomad ban, by the end of it, didn't seem to matter because they punished every nugget of aggression from Wildcard.
And how much of it, I guess, for Elevate, going back to that slow start, was mistakes. You know, Digital dying early round 2. They had another player die really early in round 1 as well. You look at those 2 rounds as an example. The third round was quite clinical. Of course, the 3K. But the first 2 rounds, Elevate had played that better. Who knows? Maybe they could have taken an advantage from their attack. We switch sides. They go to defense now. Wildcard are going to be looking to be aggressive themselves and try and take back a lead. They don't want to lose Consulate early here.
And can I just mention this beautiful strat being used by Elevate? A 11-hit castle barricade on the door to CEO with 2 ADSs to protect it. Well, that might have been an EMP to destroy those ADSs, but that castle barricade has been smacked 11 times. There you go. Ethan's going to get rid of it. That exposes a lot of positions. But Worthy still has that shield at long desk, and so does Red, that he can use. But Red taken out from the roof, not aware that his feet were exposed in that position. A good first kill for Wildcard, dismantling this strategy from Elevate quite effectively thus far.
And that almost replicates what we saw in the first 2 rounds of Elevate's attack, just losing a player at around that minute and a half, minute 40-second in a pretty easy affair. And Wildcard can now take this advantage, start to push in. And we're on at top of yellow. Now push into the second floor bathroom if he so chooses. At least just cause a bit of noise and clear out the second floor. Look for any roamers. God Legion is up here over in meeting. That's a very vital fight if that does take place. Droned out, though, now can peek it. Pre-fires through the wall, although that's going to be a misplaced. Oh, that tap was about a second away from Ema, and he doesn't even realize in the end. Unfortunate. And considering he's so low on health, he doesn't want to take those long-winded engagements. That's why he's just pre-firing and peeking and playing it really safe for as long as he can. A minute remaining as it gets hectic here. 4 versus 4. Both teams with a big opportunity in this 7th round.
Great setup on the bomb site around between public bathroom and benches, that castle barricade to protect, and that gives Vast a lot of mobility here. Digital getting pressured inside of Piano, and there's a full rotate from Wildcard to try to pressure that. One goes from benches, it's Pat, while the rest of them all going from that Piano windows. What's the call here? 30 seconds left for Wildcard. Elevate, they may have started on the back foot here, but things are looking so good for them. Choked out on the stairs is Pat, and he gets taken out from below as well. It's a 2 versus 3 now for Wildcard. Just scrambling at the moment. 15 seconds remaining, all on Diesel, and he's surely taken out here. But he's not given any opportunity to take anything in the round. Elevate take 4 rounds in a row.
I won't lie. If you had said Elevate were going to win the next 4 rounds after Wildcard started 3 and zip, I would have said you're crazy. Despite the fact that Elevate are a very impressive team, and this is not really a surprise. If anything, it's probably going to script right now how we thought this series would go. You mentioned at the start of this season, these were 2 teams that you yourself thought would be among the top 2. And it's playing like that right now as we head down to basement for Elevate. 4 in a row, they're on form. They're only a couple of rounds away from taking this map. They're undefeated on Consulate. Wildcard have only dropped 1 map this entire season. Could Elevate find the map that they need to help their chances of making top 4?
And defuse as many bombs as they can.
And you mentioned Elevate relying on at least 1 map victory out of this series to get that top 4, but the 2-0 is still on the cards for Elevate as well. We know that more than 50% of voters predicted Wildcard to take this series, but those tips might not be super accurate once we see not only Elevate coming on strong here on Wildcard's own map pick, but moving on to Villa afterwards. If Elevate have that momentum, and they're talking about a map that, well, they haven't exposed since January Wildcard. There was a vote of them losing it in March. Maybe Elevate have what it takes to gut Wildcard here, 2-0.
And I mean, for Wildcard, though, the last time they played on Consulate in 6 Masters, 8-7 to Ferox, or not to Ferox, sorry, to Wildcard, but still Ferox pushing them all the way till that overtime. So the proficiency for them on Consulate maybe not as ideal as they would have liked, and for Elevate, this has really worked in their favor. Even though, actually, the last time they did play on Consulate, they did lose to Ferox. Kind of ironic that, but right now, Elevate are looking more like the team we saw in the first half of this season of 6 Masters, rather than the team we saw sort of in their last 5 maps.
Wildcard dancing around this garage wall at the moment. That bandit of red on the other side, ready to attempt to trick this. The Thatcher's there, so we can clear out any batteries that are already placed. But see, there are 3 players watching for anyone to peek that wall. The Zephyr trick comes out, using those concussions from the lifeline to cancel the animation of red putting down a bandit battery, and that gets the left panel open. But really the priority is to get the right panel open, and that's still not done for Wildcard. They got the left panel open because it's the one next to the drone hole. Now Diesel, with his teammates to cover, gets open the right panel, and that's good control there for Wildcard.
Smooth and precise from Wildcard so far in round 8. Playing against the grain right now because Elevate's got all of the momentum. So Wildcard have just got to keep their composure here. This is a much better start on this basement bomb site, opening up both sides of this garage door. Now they can start to push in, clear out a lot of these ADSs, clear out this utility. Don't leave it to the last 10 seconds, but still give yourself enough time. But even then, you can just now push in, get a very quick plant just in front of these doors that are now opened up. And then really, if that plant is successful, the odds of a retake are slim to none just about for Elevate. They're going to make sure that this diffuser does not go down.
One thing to note here for Wildcard is there's very little map control. That allows God Legion to play very aggressively here at the bottom of Yellow Stairs. He has an opportunity to peek around the corner as well to potentially deny a plant in front of White Van, unless if Emarin rotates to deny that. But there's no control above for Wildcard, and 50 seconds left. I think it's too late to attempt it, which means that denying these key anchor positions behind the yellow pillar, at pipes, behind White Van, it's going to be very difficult to do without that vertical control. And they're leaving it very late for this execute.
35 seconds remaining. Emarin's, I think, in that position, ready for the run out from Yellow Stairs or elsewhere, potentially keeping track of that left side. Last 20 seconds left. Now starting to push in is Ethan. Clears out the ADS, but finds a target that's far down below. Throws out the C4, expecting the push to come in through those garage doors. Diesel, though, finds an entryway. Takes out God Legion. Wildcard have now got control of Yellow Stairs, and Geo finds a pick. Red's going to trade back with him from the outside. It's a 3 versus 1 remaining. Elevate are all in control now. Diesel at Yellow Stairs finds an injure, but he doesn't have the diffuser. And he doesn't have the round. Elevate have got 5 in a row.
Insane there for Elevate, and Red to find 3 kills from that position at side White Van. It highlights the importance of taking map control, denying these heavy anchor positions, and preventing these aggressive rotations. Red had previously gone behind White Van. Maybe Wildcard droned it out, thought, okay, that's clear, but then they got caught in this crossfire. dirty between pipes and white van and just completely exposed. Nowhere to go. They might have dealt with that main garage wall quite effectively with the Thatcher, the Thermite, and the Zephyr, but that's just not enough. And now on the back foot here, a reverse sweep is on the cards here for Elevate.
I mean, you kind of just sort of said why in your sentence there. When you commit so many operators to taking out that wall, you don't have enough operators to then go and roam around and find out other ways in. They had no vertical control, as you mentioned, second floor, first floor. It was only until the end that Diesel was able to sort of get in, push through Yellow Stairs, take out God Legion, but that was just too little too late. By that point, Elevate had already started to win most of those trades and fights, and it was a 3 versus 1. So for Wildcard, in the end, committing so many to those garage doors backfires, and Elevate will make them pay. Well, now the 5th round in a row. Can they continue on? 7-3 might be in the cards for them. At one point, I thought those first 3 rounds, Wildcard looked like they could find a 7-3 themselves.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb. Razor wire ready. Bomb located by attackers.
2 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm not sure if Dev's hit that mute button again like he did last night.
What do you mean? I definitely did maybe do that. I was just giving you the spotlight, Xenox. I was going to point out, there's been some huge performances from individuals on this team, and previously we talk about Ethan being that man on Wildcard to really step up, but it's been Pat who's tried to drag this team through, and it hasn't been enough so far. It's at 12-5 at the moment, but for Elevate, it's just been a nice, well-rounded team effort. Wildcard, especially on these attacks, have just fallen into the traps Elevate have beset them.
A bomb has been located.
The goal this round for Elevate is to deny vertical control, because you think Wildcard will look to get a bit more of it here. Coming into this 9th round, they had none in the last round. Well, that backfired. Propel's going to be vital. Take control of this windows, looking into meeting. CO. 1.5. But Digital's going to be able to waste so much time here. Makes the run across safely in this private bathroom. This is the vital position. I was about to say, he made the first time across, the second time Geo will punish him. The longer that the smoke can stay in there, or at least in that vicinity, buys so much time for the defenders. Losing Digital makes it very difficult now for Elevate. Then you lose Red shortly after that, and it all now just starts to fall apart for Elevate here in this 9th round. The momentum may be just subsiding slightly here as Wildcard find a couple of picks. Just a little bit better here to at least try and make it 5-4. Not over yet, 3v5.
Really good control for Wildcard, though. Top of yellow, but there's 2 players downstairs, both of which have C4. Not sure whether God Legion still has one in the pocket, but it's likely. And they're both watching. They can't push up yellow stairs because Pat's there. But God Legion, in fact, does have a C4, as does Vars. So there's 2 opportunities here to thwart this plant from Wildcard. No doubt Wildcard will have to get very aggressive and completely overwhelm side, but it's just these 2 players left downstairs now. Diesel getting this plant down, Vars to deny it. Then he's taken out by Geo. It's a 1 versus 4 for God Legion. This C4 might be good, it might be impactful, but surely it won't be enough. Imran getting that plant down. God Legion, what have you got for us? Surely Wildcard's watching every opportunity here, and there you go. Geo's gonna finish him off, and that's Wildcard to finally get their heads back in the game.
Quick snap from Geo. Quick reaction time pays dividends. 10 rounds in, and we've got an absolute clinker. 5-4. It all started with Wildcard, then a 5-0 run from Elevate. And finally, Wildcard stop the rot. They now go to first floor, Elevate, lobby and press. And they're just so close to that sweet, sweet victory. Dev, getting that map. They're so close that maybe just might slip from them. If they stumble at the finish line here, Wildcard are certainly capable now to run away and get these next 3 rounds.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
It was really on the back of those first 2 picks Wildcard managed to get. So if Elevate continue this aggression and Wildcard are ready to punish it, we'll see something very similar to what we saw in Elevate's own half. And in fact, it could be that the trend continues. Wildcard got a stray of 3 defensive rounds at the start, and then
Bomb located by
Elevate
attacker.
continued and started to make adaptations, read into the way Wildcard were playing and punish them for it. We started to see that trend maybe get even a little bit earlier here on Wildcard's own attacks. They had 2 run by them at the start, and now they've started to figure out the best way to deal with Elevate on these
10
defenses.
seconds left.
It's really up to the defenders now to ensure they don't keep falling
5 seconds.
into these angles that Wildcard are holding.
Attacker's objective is
Elevate. Big opportunity to continue to just be aggressive. Don't sort of fall back into their shells just because you lost that last round. A lot of presence up in their second floor, making a lot of noise, opening up a lot of holes. I think Worthy wanting to make sure that that top floor above the bomb site stays in their control for at least as long as possible here over at CO.
Yeah, that said, the push from Wildcard seems to be coming from admin side. Emarin's already in, Diesel to drone him up. Ethan on a rappel outside paper window, and here we have Emarin ready and waiting. An angle going downstairs, just to prevent anyone from flanking from the bottom of Visa stairs. Emarin also taking out that default camera that's in Visa through the floor there, nice one. Now he's watching in towards meeting, holding this long line to punish anyone who peeks. It might be God Legion. And the pinch starts to come out. Pat on these windows. Diesel to drone up. Spots out the Jaeger sitting inside meeting. Pat ready to contest that one if he needs to. We know God Legion. We know how good of a player he is. He's confident in his gunfights, and he's just waiting for someone to peek him.
If Wildcard are going to peek him, though, they've got to do at least from 2 different angles at the same time. Make it difficult. He can only take one with him if he is able to land his shots. Pat near this pro balcony. Going to go back onto the drone. God Legion, though, has moved positions, though, back over the waiting. Worthy's still over at CO, and a lot of his second floor control on the west side is still in control for Elevate, doing a decent job, but they did allow Wildcard, as you said, to take control of admin and Visa if they want to then drop down onto that first floor, which it seems is the case with Geo down there. Imarin, though, I think wants to help out Pat, clear out this meeting room, and then eventually clear out CO, but they've only got a minute. How much time can they really commit to continue to flush out these roamers on the second floor?
It's worthy to go down from Ethan. Maybe from the benches window, as I believe so. Wildcard very split up, but very in sync despite that. A lot of droning for each other. Ethan watching that long line. Diesel to force this plant down. Is there an answer? It's going to go down successfully. It is. Diesel gets taken out just after the plant goes down, and all the kills are for Wildcard. It's just Vast left, and, well, he might have found 1 kill, but there's 4 more to find, and this just doesn't look possible.
And it's not possible. Pat still sitting at the balcony outside of meeting, finds this kill as he's roaming around. Wildcard certainly back in the fight.
I didn't see the exact plant position, but I'm just going to assume it was at the lobby door, most common plant position. And I mean, there was plant denial just at the last moment, but it was right after that diffuser got locked down. I'm sure Vast is kicking himself and thinking maybe things would have been differently. Maybe there wasn't a possibility there if I had managed to deny that plant. But for Wildcard, you know, they've gone back from that deficit of 3-5 after losing 5 in a row, and they've turned things back around. They've made it on their turf now. They're putting Elevate on the back foot. That's not only a loss on Consul, which was the least favored bomb site for Elevate, but also once they returned to that lobby and press room where they were most preferred, they got another loss, and Wildcard really picked themselves up. Elevate now. Remember the last time they defended Garage. It worked out splendidly for them because Wildcard was unable to deny these anchor positions, and Elevate maintained those crossfires into the dying moments when they put that final nail in the coffin for Wildcard. Surely something will change here, though, for the attack.
The other part of it, too, I think in that last round, we saw Elevate commit at least two players up onto that second floor on the west side over towards CO, and yet there wasn't really much remonstration from Wildcard. They didn't really seem like they cared too much. Yeah, a bit of pressure put onto God Legion sitting in meeting, but for the most part, they didn't quite get involved. That allowed Wildcard to then push on that first floor, bomb site, push into lobby, get the plant down. And Elevate just didn't have the numbers to then deal with it. You think maybe that just plays a part into how that round sort of evolved. 5 versus 5 now, all squared up. As we may have sort of suspected coming into this matchup, we thought these rounds would be close. And so far, that has been the case.
Elevate seem to be reattempting this bandit trick. They've got the Wamai magnets ready to counter this Zephyr trick that we saw last time. But Wildcard was pretty adept at countering this setup from Elevate and quite easily maintained their control over the garage wall, popped it open. For now, Wildcard just focusing on this roam clear, which is a nice adaptation. We talked about how maybe that was the downfall of Wildcard last round, not roam clearing. And instead, they are checking all of the top floor. You can see drones. Geo's got one at Spiral Stairs. Diesel also clearing out the top floor down to Yellow Stairs. There is Worthy, however, over at TV near admin. I don't think Wildcard have any information on him just yet. He also has a rotate down now with Digital opening up that admin hatch.
But just like that last round, will they actually push over to him? But this time in an opposite direction, also over towards the admin side. A lot of presence from Wildcard on the west side this time. Last round was on the east. Minute 25 seconds. They may not even make their way over to Worthy, and then Worthy may just sit there wasting time. If Wildcard then push in through, say, garage doors, get control of Yellow Stairs, they can overwhelm, say, Digital, Vast and Red down in basement, leaving then the two roamers, God Legion and Worthy, up on that second floor, kind of doing nothing. Geo finds one through the Claymore. God Legion does get caught out. No one was even there. Geo may be surprised by that, but a great Claymore placement. There's that pick I said that may just come out. Opens it up even easier for Wildcard. 50 seconds, so much time. They've cleared out so much here. Through the floor, surely Imran's going to find this kill. He was on 0 for a while, but in the last couple of rounds, he's just picked things up. He's now up to 2 with the last 2 rounds. And he goes out. Can't find his target, though.
Wait, that plant's going down from Diesel. Not denied, and there's a successful plant also to take one out, all on red. Things have turned around. It may be a flawless attack for Wildcard after so much difficulty. Indeed it is. They have redeemed themselves, and they've got themselves onto match point here on their map pick. It was merely a hiccup. Just 5 rounds lost in a row to come back and make a return. On match point now is Wildcard.
Match point, Wildcard. It's been a roller coaster of a match. Wildcard 3-0 at the gate, then 5 to Elevate, then now 3 in a row to Wildcard. Elevate have got to respond, though. As we go back to CO and meeting, where Elevate, I do believe, have had success as both the attackers. I'm not sure so much as the defenders, though. They have got a big opportunity to send this one into overtime, give themselves a chance, especially going back later on into their attack. But for now, Wildcard have got everything going for them. One more map and they can then rest a bit easy. They'll take back that first spot on the standings, and they'll basically get a freebie going into Villa against Elevate here. And it puts so much pressure then going into Villa as well for Elevate. If they don't then win that, well, might as well say that their season may just be done.
For Wildcard, I want to credit the way that they've made this comeback happen. It's all about adaptations. We talked about how they really struggled on that first garage defense, which didn't really have any answer for the anchor positions, no counter. Yep, God Legion does in fact find that drone. But then, contrastly, this time around, instead of hunting those roamers down, we saw that there were in fact 2 roamers, God Legion, and I'm not sure who the other one was, Worthy, I believe. Wildcard just dedicated Emo to taking control of Piano, opening the floor, which is the reason you clear roamers, while Geo was dedicated to watching flanks. We saw him on the drones, and his Claymore also found one onto God Legion. And that worked excellently for Wildcard. They managed to get the best of both worlds without wasting time chasing down those roamers. And I've got a stat for you, Xenox. 3 rounds in a row, Wildcard have won their attacks. 3 rounds in a row, Wildcards have successfully planted the diffuser. And that shows how objectively focused Wildcard are. They're not trying to take on everything at once. They just bite off what they can chew and deal with little bits at a time.
Well, the power of 3s has been in favor of Wildcard so far in Consulate, but They're going to need to power of 4 to win the map 7-5 here against Elevate. The Elevate just reined it in a bit here. Maybe try and turtle it up a bit more. But then if you do that, you allow Wildcard to get so much control on that first floor at these windows. They look to then can have a bit more of an opportunity to push in. Doesn't look like Worthy wants any of that. He's going to roam down below. Red close by, and Digital at the top of yellow. Ethan just outside, being a pest.
Remember, Digital was taken out nice on an early in the last defense of this top floor when he was running between Private and Yellow. He is peeking quite aggressively, and now that there's a player on that Private rappel, he does have to be cautious, but he smokes it off to try and stay a little bit longer. He still has his ADSs intact. The Thatcher could clear those, but Pat hasn't done so thus far. A magnet caught out for the flashbang. And another smoke. EMP comes out. Flashbang to clear the magnets. A nade comes out as well. Is it going to find its target? No, Digital's retreated comfortably back into Private. There was no opportunity for Geo to cover the cross. And now all the way back safe again. With 50 seconds to go, Wildcard need to deal with this.
The big plus right now for Elevate is that Digital's still in that private bathroom. 45 seconds. He doesn't get picked this time. You mentioned it last time we were on this second floor. Got picked really early on, crossing from one side of the bathroom to the other. Ooh. Oh, spots the legs and shoots the legs. Red's going to be taken out from Diesel at the window just outside on the garage roof. Vasto will get him. The trade back is confirmed, but only 25 seconds left remaining. Wildcard have got in, though. They've gotten a bit of position around the bomb site, clearing out the last bit of utility and cameras and everything that they can see before they go in. Actually, the diffuser was on Diesel, so they had to go and retrieve that. It's going to buy time for Elevate, but fortunately for Wildcard, Ethan's just getting the job done. Inside, on site, the bomb site. God Legion finds one, running out of time to get this diffuser down. Pat will stick it though. He'll get it off. God Legion's got a big task ahead of him. He does get one. 2 more to find.
Buddy's finished off, and Wildcard secure that map after what was a bit of back and forth. Just a streak of one team, a streak of another team, and it looked like Wildcard weren't able to close that until Ethan just runs in and does what Ethan does best. Quick 3K on the Ash to clear out the bomb site and pave way for Wildcard to take their map pick.
That was a very enthralling match that in the end didn't go to overtime, but 7-5 did give it credit. And for Elevate, they had that massive run in the middle of that match from Consulate. It just wasn't enough. Dev, they started slow, and then in the end, Wildcard finished with a bang to get those last couple of rounds, take out their map pick of Consulate 7-5, breathe a bit of sigh of relief, and well, they're now also back at the top of the standings.
In fact, that was the only attack Wildcard won without... Oh no, they did plan. Never mind. They won every single attack that they won. They planted. I like that. You know, it gives you a bit of an insight into how they were playing. And yeah, I really want to point out there that Elevate were totally on board to win that round and take us to overtime until Ethan, and unfortunately we didn't catch much of it on the camera, but until Ethan just runs in and gets 3 kills. And I don't know whether he came up from Visa Stairs. I wasn't watching at the time. I don't know whether he came in through Con or maybe repelled in CEO, but you could see that desperate attempt. As soon as there was finally a little bit of an opening pick, Wildcard found 2 kills. There was no time left, really. They just fell into the bomb site and allowed Ethan to go nuts.
I mean, credit to Elevate, the way that they were able to respond after losing those first 3 rounds and go on a tear. They got 5 in a row. I mean, that's no easy feat against Wildcard as well on Wildcard's map pick. Unfortunately, they then weren't able to go on and finish the job. It did feel like when we saw Wildcard sort of just stop the rot a bit, make it 5-4, that they had every chance to then continue that. And in the end, they did, right? They didn't lose a single round after that. So once they stopped the run of Elevate, so it was a game of runs. It was a game of, you know, streaks, really, in the end. And it just so happened that Wildcard was able to have 2 of them, where it was just kind of one long one for Elevate, and weren't able to obviously win 7 in a row. And I don't think that was going to happen.
And I think Elevate's got to be kicking themselves at the moment because they let 3 rounds slip on their attacks in the first half. And if they hadn't done that, if they had managed to pull through on one of Wildcard's first runs of defenses And there were some opportunities there. Like, you know, Pat just went crazy in one round and got a 4K. If Elevate had locked down on their attacking half and just won one more round, we'd be looking at overtime or potentially even a victory for Elevate. So, I mean, it really does come down to those fine details. And it may have been a 7-5. We didn't get overtime, but it was definitely a very close game. And that shapes up to be a very exciting series heading into Villa next.
Yeah, certainly so. We've, of course, got one more match to play out in this series between Elevate and Wildcard. Wildcard taking it 1-0 at the moment as we go to the break.
Bomb defused. 15 seconds left. The attacker's bomb diffuser has been dropped. Recovered their diffuser. 10 seconds left.
This is not a drill, hold nothing back. It's shoot to kill in this leap of faith. Let your aim be true. You stand alone, but I'll watch over you. The clock is ticking, the clock is ticking. A single second could mean everything. Time is running, the time is running out. Don't give up, don't give in. Don't let me down. Be the one to wipe their grin when they hear the sound. Don't give up, don't give in before they catch a glimpse. I know you'll find the strength within.
Consulate went the way of Wildcard 7-5 in our centered Battle of the Giants. We head into Villa very, very shortly in what is, of course, the map pick for Elevate. This is their opportunity, Dev, where they must get this map win in this series, tie it up, get a draw, get something from this series. Otherwise, they're in deep trouble going into their final playday next week.
Yeah, I mean, they've slipped down to 5th place on the standings, and they're not doing themselves any favors by not taking that map there, especially after getting 5 in a row. We really thought there was a chance there, maybe at least for the overtime. Not to be, though. I definitely think there is a chance here. We're going on to Elevate's map pick, and I mean, I'm just going to go on and have another squiz to make sure I'm right here. Yeah, I am. So with Villa, which is what Elevate decided to pick up here, they haven't played this since January, and they won it against Knights, but I mean, it was so long ago that is that even really relevant, right? And the most recent interaction Elevate had with Villa was when they banned it against LFO. I mean, aside from, it's not like it's been an insta-ban for them or anything like that. For Wildcard, they haven't been banning it at all in 6 Masters, but they lost it to Okami in the Pro League in March. So I'm thinking from Elevate's perspective, they've thought, okay, well, we haven't shown our Villa strats here. We have a little bit of information, semi-outdated information from March on our opponents. Let's do it. Let's take them to it. It's a bit of a gamble, but let's do it.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the poll vote as well, just one more time for this series. Wildcard were clearly the favorites coming in, 53%, 28% said Elevate. That's no longer the case, but the 19% who said draw could still be on the money depending on how things transpire going into Villa. Big opportunity for Elevate, a lot of pressure on them. And one of the questions I asked Strider yesterday in the interview with him from Knights was the pressure going into that map on Cafe, and the fact that losing that meant they've got a long uphill battle to make top 4. And they were devastated. They were heartbroken. They knew full well going into that series they needed something, and they got nothing in the end. And I think for Elevate's sake, it could be the case as we head into Villa now. They had their opportunity on Consulate. It didn't work out for them. Now they're going to have to do it here on Villa.
It is Elevate's map pick, though, so there is the opportunity there. The pressure might be on, but this is Elevate's best chance at taking destiny into their own hands here and securing that top 4 playoff spot. Their only other opportunity to do so is next week against Okami, and that won't be a walk in the park. Let's jump in the ban phase. Wildcard to kick things off. What are we going to see here? Maybe a Thatcher. Is it going to get passed through? Nope, not this time around. So Thatcher banned out. Going to really make the attackers have to get creative in dealing with a lot of those obstacles, your ADS devices, Kaid, Electric Claws, etc. Here's an uncommon ban for you, though. Buck from Elevate.
Definitely agree with you. And again, the trend that we've seen, at least in the last week or two, is that Ying's ban rate has subsided. But will we see the mirror come back into the fold as well? Pulse going to be banned out again, as we saw on Consulate. Eyes a bit of that roaming potential. Wildcards, I guess, a team that could utilize an operator like Pulse, who can be aggressive at times, can backfire at times, but the Goyo comes out as the ban as well. That might actually be one of the first times Goyo's been banned this entire season of 6 Masters. I can get that information for you, Dev, because I have my own stat sheet too.
Please do. I recall, I don't know whether it was in Pro League.
It is the first time. Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Well, we did see a few Goyo bans when he finally was released into competitive play, primarily against teams like Okami, who are really prolific with the operator. But maybe that's a comfort band from Wildcard because, of course, there's no information here that either of these teams really have against their opponents, specifically Wildcard, because last time Elevate played this was in January. That's ages ago. We're in June now. Xenox, like, I can't believe we're almost halfway through 2020. January was a long time ago. Like, back in January, Geo, who's here playing for Wildcard, was actually on Elevate, and Elevate didn't have Worthy, and Wildcard only have 3/5 of the roster from before. So this is uncharted territory for these teams. Elevate only have that one VOD of Wildcard playing on this map in March against Okami, and I'm sure that they've changed a lot since then.
But that's the thing, right? That's also where it makes it very difficult to look at results in January when teams were so different. For the most part, I think in terms of just recent games, I look at a lot at Six Masters. Obviously, if you look at just Six Masters, then you're not going to have the head-to-head matchup result, but more so how teams play against the other teams here in Six Masters. You know, how teams performed on Villa, for example. Elevate, this may have been their map pick, but it's not as if they are the kings of Villa by any means, Dev. This very well could easily just go Wildcard's favor too. You know, you mentioned at the start of this broadcast that Elevate had the big opportunity to go 2-0. And the same could have easily been said for Wildcard. Wildcard are at least now in that position. They will defend first. And if Elevate don't win these first few rounds, their heads may drop a bit.
And while we don't have a lot of information on how Wildcard played this, they've clearly been practicing it. I want to point out this Electric Claw placement from Emorin in just near the bar. If we zoom in, I would love to see. It's placed right near this deployable shield on the floor. You can see just slightly to the right there where there's a bit of a break in the floor, and that means it can't be shot from below. It's on a solid wooden beam, and couple that with the Thatcher ban, it's going to be almost impossible for Elevate to get rid of that Electric Claw, which will be super difficult and basically nullify any chance at opening that wall using the thermite charges.
So what you're saying is Wildcard have said to Elevate, you've activated my trap card. We were ready for this. You thought we weren't, but here we are, and we're going to play it out, and we're going to take you on your map pick. It very well could be the case. Vast trying to push in, Elevate trying to push in, not getting very far at all. Wildcard are prepared. They're ready to go here on Villa. Elevate, I think, are in some trouble here.
Oh, and that's a deception there from the Alibi Prisma. Digital will attempt to open up this wall. Looks to be a freebie. Worthy watching that flank up through Classical Hallway. But now there's a whole gaping hole in the bomb site. Is there an opportunity here, though, for this to be salvaged? Digital finds one. Worthy as well. Spotted out the gun of that Jaeger. Pat safely in vault. 1:12. There's still a lot of time to work with here for Elevate.
A lot of time, but not a lot of lives. 3 still up as well for Wildcard, who can still delay as well with the smokes from Diesel.
No!
Diesel's going to be taken down, and you go to try and pick it up, you'll go down as well. It was the Worthy team kill that started all of that. Besides that, I don't think that we're going to get very far anyway, with Ethan watching from not very far away. Regardless of the team kill, Dev, I still think that wasn't going to be very good for Elevate in that round. Wildcard take it 1-0.
Can I just point out that there were 2 team kills there?
Wait, really?
Yeah, there was a team
Wait
kill
a
right at the
second.
end. There was a team kill earlier on. Worthy, I think, was it? I'm not sure which player it was. Maybe it wasn't Red. Maybe it was Vast or God Legion. Got team killed really early on when just pushing in through study, and then there was that team kill right at the end there. So I mean, if you looked at this, yeah, if you looked at the scoreboard from Wildcard, like they only have 3 kills so far. And I mean that's yeah, that's cool.
Fun facts with Dev, and unfortunately team kills with Elevate, I guess, which is unfortunate. Not sure
Not fun for them.
Not sure, you know, last night was sort of the talk about replicating sort of rounds. I'm not sure if Elevate are going to want to replicate that one, and I think for Wildcard, that's not something that they can probably bank on happening again.
And I mean, Wildcard are off to a strong start here, and it's only going to get more difficult. We know that there is an opportunity, of course, as always, to come back on the flip side, but we're going to see a closet hole. This is fun. Were you here when was it Kami played this and they did the like the frost strats? Do you remember that?
Yes, that was us.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was us. That was so good. I think we're going to see something similar just without the frost. So in the closet, you'll see a lot of ADS devices and a few were my magnets as well. A castle barricade to enable a rotate hole. Look at that utility invested. 2 magnets and 2 ADSs. Some holes looking downstairs and several rotates. This is a really sophisticated strategy from Wildcard. And going into this game, Elevate won't be aware of it because, as I mentioned, this isn't something that Wildcard has shown in VODs before.
Yeah, that was a fun time. The frost traps proved to be hit and miss at sometimes. At one point they were effective, at other points they really did nothing. And they had, if I remember correctly, like 3 ADSs with 2 frost traps and a shield holding in the closet.
Yeah.
Minutes and 10 seconds, not quite as much utility community this time around. Geo's going to pick up, goes and grabs God Legion, punishes him. Up on that second floor. Now Red is a bit nervous as well near those red stairs. And Wildcard gets the opening pick, makes it tough for Elevate.
I'm so glad that Elevate picked this map because it's giving us a great opportunity to see some of Wildcard's 300 IQ strategies here. I always love it when Wildcard have a few pocket strats in there, up their sleeve. And well, Diesel here playing the castle himself with the shotgun. The super shot is quite a good weapon. Got a rotation not only into bathroom but also one between. Oh, that's a nice C4 up through the floor. Thankfully, Red shot that one out. Here's the push coming in from landing. But of course, they have a lot of angles to be wary of, and the castle barricades are still molding the site to Wildcard's benefit.
So close from Ethan. He has to be wondering how close it really was. If he hadn't got that off, would have that even got the kill? Probably. Or at least it would have done a lot of damage. Able to clear this out because there's no ADSs here. A lot of them were used, if not all of them were used in Closet. May have been one used elsewhere. Vast is able to get Diesel, can now push in. Risky play though, immediately countered by Pat, holding long way down the corridor. Digital gets a return though onto Pat, now makes it a 3 versus 3. It's even Steven. Digital's gonna go the thermite breach. Ethan does find Worthy, makes it tough again for Elevate. Red's low as well, remember that. He's not going to be able to be too effective in any sort of exchange. Definitely not effective when Ethan's below.
Just Digital now to salvage 3 players, and oh, this is so difficult. Doesn't realize that the players rotated back into stat, and Wildcard. Look, their strategy in Master was dismantled, but Ethan cannot be contained. He found 2 kills below, and there were so many good trades from the rest of Wildcard on site that Elevate just had no chance.
We're getting Consulate vibes so far after the first 2 rounds, especially if we see a 3-0 in favor of Wildcard. Can't help but feel the similarities are already taking place. The fact that Elevate was slow out of the blocks on Consulate, now a bit slow out of the blocks here on Villa, on their own map pick as well, where it now seems like Wildcard almost, or at least it feels like they're almost more prepared than Elevate. But it's easier to say that when I guess Wildcard are defending, and it's easier to put a lot of practice in place, holding certain positions and angles. Attackers have got to clear things out. It's not quite as easy to, I guess, pre-plan attacks as it is to pre-plan defense holds. Great start for Wildcard nonetheless. And for Elevate, this is where you don't want to drop your heads. Keep going, keep pushing, keep being aggressive. And know, with the way that Consulate turned out, you can find a run of form somewhere here on Villa.
That's a great point. Maybe that Elevate coming back from that deficit, losing 3 rounds in a row, and then replying with 5 of their own. Surely that is something to give them some confidence, and knowing that no matter how far down we are, we can always come back. But really, it's the same for Wildcard, right? Because they countered that reverse sweep attempt last game. We've seen quite a lot of Alibi here. Ethan picked it on round number 1, now bringing it again. Not a very common operator, but it's nice to see the Italian operator brought out on the Italian map here. And, I mean, Alibi, I actually advocate for Alibi. I think she's got a fantastic primary. She's a 3-speed. She has a fantastic secondary here with the Bailiff. Great for making rotation holes. She can also bring a deployable shield, reinforce anchor positions, and that pairs really nicely with her Prismas, as you can see, holding the top of Brown Stairs, and one also in Aviator as well. You put them in positions where you can't shoot the little base platform, and they can be used really nicely to deny lines of sight and give you the defenders a slight advantage in these engagements.
Wildcard's not even a team who probably needs any advantage where they've been playing this season. Are you serious? It's not even at the 2-minute mark, and Ethan's already roaming around and finding picks. He got a second one! Oh, it's easy for Ethan. Easy for Wildcard right now on Villa. And Elevate losing both Red and Worthy. They lose a lot of presence as they want to then push in. More Sledge, Capital can't clear out certain positions. And with 2 minutes still remaining, I mean, I know it's easy to sit back and say, well, you know, there's a lot of time for Elevate, but 5v3 makes it tough from here.
Wildcard just aren't giving any free map control. This bomb site is kitchen, right? Kitchen dining. And Wildcard is still contesting the entries in through study,
Bomb has been located.
as well as the top floor. But now they've found those 2 picks, they've decided to really just consolidate their efforts. Still, the drone comes out, spots out, I believe that was Ema in on the castle, who defaults back downstairs. I like this decision from Wildcard. You're in that advantage. Now, just knuckle down. Don't have to push too aggressively from this point out. You can roam horizontally instead of roaming vertically from here on out. Let Elevate take this map control, waste some time. Don't give them any picks through the floor because you're playing horizontally, roaming around library. And then when finally Elevate attempt to execute, you have a significant numbers advantage and can move from there. Ooh.
Oh, Digital
That's
takes
C4.
so much damage from that C4. Yep. Has to fall back for the time being, expecting maybe a push. Why not? At this point, you think Wildcard are just going to be pushing from any sort of corner at any sort of time. God Legion from above in this master bedroom. Doesn't find anything. Vast has to push down. 30 seconds left. I mean, you got no reason not to try, but try as you might. Wildcard are going to win this round. God Legion drops down. All he can spot is Digital go down in front of him with the oh, it's over. All this round, Wildcard are absolutely dominating. But I said the exact same thing after 3 rounds on Consulate, and we know what happened after that.
It's true. I mean, if there's any time for Elevate to get back into it, it's right now. It's what they did on Consulate. Of course, it didn't lock out the map for them, but they got within arm's reach of that match point. Got to say, Wildcard are looking stellar here on Villa. They really do maintain a 6-map pool, and if no one wants to take them to Villa, that's fine. They'll just pick Clubhouse every day a team lets them. But when they do go to Villa, when finally a team takes the gamble and picks a map that Wildcard haven't shown off for a while, even though Elevate have no VODs on this map and Wildcard are going in blind, Wildcard have confidence in their own gameplay. We've heard it in the past. In interviews, Wildcard, they like to say, look, we don't focus too much on counter-stratting other teams. We've done that in the past, and it doesn't work. Our focus is on perfecting our own gameplay, and that's exactly what we're seeing from Wildcard.
Ethan's been very impressive in this series. Both on Consulate, here on the Alibi as well. Now on Villa. 6-0. Always a great sign over the first 3 rounds. For Wildcard, though, this is where maybe it's a mental battle. In their heads, they may not be thinking about it, but considering what happened on Consulate after 3 rounds, it's worthy of a discussion to say, all right, we're playing aggressive, we're finding early picks. Let's not maybe get overzealous. Let's not throw away picks needlessly and lives needlessly. Let's make sure we just keep it in a controlled manner, controlled aggression, I guess, here into round 4. Don't let Elevate into this round at all.
Gio got the opening pick last time Wildcard defended this bomb site. In fact, he's got 2 opening picks so far. He's been really confident on his engagements and he's playing this aggressive angle at the moment. From the top of Brown Stairs, Digital has to be cautious. Recently, he has been exposed a lot. The first player taken out, he takes a bit of damage. Shot to the arm from Gio. And now Gio goes back, activating those magnets. Still, his shield is protected by 2 of those magnets. Digital's all out of stun grenades. The combination of Jaeger and Wamai from Wildcard working out well to protect Gio. Ooh, but here's a push up from the stairs from bottom Brown. A smoke grenade to deny that long line of sight, and Vast as well to push in from Study. Can he lock out this kill? He can. There's a trade, however, and the players trying to push up from bottom Brown just can't do it because of that smoke, babe. Genius stuff from Diesel, and now they're all locked out of the bomb site. Wildcard have perfected this so well, but God Legion trying to get back into the game. It's him and Worthy to push up.
I just don't think Vast pushed in with someone watching his back like that, or at least was never going to be able to get a trade Unfortunately for Elevate, just didn't quite go the way that they thought that push would go. 3 versus 3 typically doesn't seem so bad, but considering the health states of Worthy, even Digital to a degree on the Thermite, the fact that Wildcard are defending here, there's still 1:10 remaining. Wildcard certainly in control of this round to go for 4-0. Last time they went 4 rounds in a row was at the end of Consulate when it was 5-3 in favor of Elevate. Since then, it's been 7 rounds in a row on both maps now to Wildcard. They look to close out round 4 now, 55 seconds. Can Worthy, Digital, or even God Legion have something to say about it? Now's the time at Classical Hall. Ethan gets Worthy. He was low, only needed a bullet or 2 to take him down. God Legion now pushes up from bottom brown and he's going to take the fight at long. Doesn't find anything. Ethan and Pat now in a 2 versus 2 with Digital and God Legion. 36 seconds remain. Massive chance for Elevate to get back into this round if they can find something in this 2 versus 2.
And if Ethan overpicks here, it could be to his detriment. Pat as well takes out the first player, pushing on, he gets both of them. A huge play from Pat, locking out that round and denying any hope for Elevate to get into this game.
Oh, just so brutal from Pat. 4 rounds in a row now for Wildcard. What is going to stop them at this point? I'm not sure what can. This is fast. As you can see, the immediate trade came straight after that. God Legion was able to find one through the floors, but it was just messy from Elevate's perspective. Pat holding back in hunting was able to then get the double at the end onto Digital and God Legion. And this has not gone the way that Elevate would have expected on their map pick of Villa. It's their map pick, Dev. And they're getting slaughtered right now.
Attackers need to locate.
It goes
and
to show
defuse
that
as
this
many
is a
bombs as
huge
they can.
gamble from Elevate to take Wildcard to a map where, I mean, neither of these teams have information on how either of these teams play it. So there are 2 key factors that really make the difference going into a game where neither you nor your opponent know how each other's play. It's 1, how good are you on that map? How well practiced are you? Is it on your regular scrim rotation? And clearly it is for Wildcard. Of course it would be for Elevate as well, otherwise they wouldn't have picked it. But the second thing is, how good are you at adapting mid-game? And so far, Wildcard have just been hammering the exact same strategies round after round, this defense, but Elevate haven't adapted. On top of that, having a couple of players on Wildcard who are just on fire. I mean, Gio's had some great opening engagements. Pat as well, not only on this game, but in the previous map was been on fire. And Ethan hasn't even died yet on Villa. He's 7-0. I mean, what can you do when that's what you're going up against?
You just got to have faith in your own teammates, in your own tactics, and try and sort of just pinch 1 or 2 here. At the very least, get at least 1. Give yourself a chance then on your defense. Clearly, if you're going to pick Villa, you've got something up your sleeve on the defensive side. But it's all been Wildcard right now. God Legion and Vast going to push in on the 2nd floor. Red's going to drone out down below for them. Digital just making sure also they're safe on this 2nd floor. From the looks of it, no real presence on this 2nd floor except for Pat and Diesel. Everyone else roaming around below them. But this is kind of what you expect from Wildcard. And it puts a lot of doubt into the mind of Elevate. They've got to drone everything. They've got to be cautious of everything. At any point, look at where Emo is. It's hard to get a gauge as to how Wildcard are going to play this. You say that they've been playing standard, but at times, the little movements, the little positions, they keep adapting.
But Elevate have made really good time here. Only a little over a minute wasted, and they've already got that control onto landing. Now that they're aware of how Wildcard like to hold on here in Master, they're ready to try to counter it. They did so quite effectively late round last time, trying to burn as many of these ADS and magnets as possible. Drone's going to come in. Diesel's going to contest this with the UMP. That flash there gets caught in the magnet. Ooh, Diesel droned out. He doesn't want to peek too aggressively here. Multiple angles, no shot! That's nuts stuff there with the UMP, no less. Good night, Mars. And still, Elevator just gonna deal with Diesel here. Worthy, what can you do? Can you support Digital? No, the magnet catches his utility. The smoke grenade comes out, and Elevator in shambles.
Diesel's low, but so is Digital. Finally, he's going to be taken out in that closet. Ethan finds 2 in the kill feed. Not a surprise at all. I mean, there's The way that Ethan's playing right now on Villa, completely unstoppable. There was a C4 kill in there as well, roaming around on this first floor, making life so difficult for Elevate. Digital extremely low from that exchange with Diesel over in Closet. Worthy watching from Master. 2 versus 3? No, never mind. It's traded back immediately. Unfortunately, now Worthy in a 1 versus 3 starts to push, but doesn't get very far. 5 rounds in a row for Wildcard, and they say, well, if you can get 5 in a row, so can we.
I mean, where does it end, Xenox? This is just an avalanche that is picking up speed. I mean, how many rounds have Wildcard won in a row now? 9 rounds in a row, if you count the 4-round streak that closed out Consulate. And yes, we get to see this beautiful. That's art. That's a work of art right there from Diesel. Threading the needle. All he needed was 1 bullet onto Vast's head. And I mean, if that is just an analogy for the round and the map of how this has gone so far, I mean, that's it.
The Capcan's 6th pick for the final defense round for Wildcard. And you're right, where does this end? Does it stop now? Does Elevate find at least 1 round on their attack? If not, it's going to be a very, very long match point, or a very, very short match point for that matter. If a 7-0 were to come out, how demoralizing it would be for the team. You know, I've spoken at great lengths throughout this series, both pre-show and during these matches, how important getting a map for Elevate was. They're not going to get it now, surely, barring a catastrophe on the side of Wildcard, because they're the ones you would think would have to slip up. You got a guy who's 9-0, for instance. Elevate aren't going to get anything, and now they need to, well, hope for the best. And a lot of their fate is now out of their hands. I'm 100% certain of that going into next week.
And if Elevate don't wake up here on Villa, like you say, they're going to rely on just those 2 maps left remaining against Akami next week. And even that might not be enough for their chances in top 4 for Wildcard now, though. You mentioned Ethan. What's he on? 9-0? Something monstrous like that. And he's just going to jump onto that Capcan. There you go, 9-0. The man's only got 6 deaths this entire series. And he's on that Capcan. Just when Elevate are in their own heads, you just chuck a little IED at every doorway, and I mean, that's just going to tilt them even further. But Elevate, they've made good control so far. Good progress, clearing in from study side. No presence this time from Elevate, from Wildcard rather, to contest that. But how do they convert this to the mid round, to the late round? That's the real question. That's what we will wait to see.
You just got to back yourself in, though, at this position. If you're Elevate, you can't drop your heads.
Nice shot.
Tough from here. But then you find an opening pick, and maybe things just feel a bit better. Yeah, throwing the nade, I'm pretty certain there. Misses, though. All from above. They surely can respond. No. Hits the beam. 1.5 minutes remaining as Elevate start to push in. This has probably been the best of their attacks so far. They haven't had many that have looked good. 1:20 left. Found the early pick, got control of the 2nd floor, and they can clear some of these gadgets.
And that's what's so essential, especially with that Thatcher band. You really need to take control from above. Digital likely to push it from launching. What are you doing, Diesel? Get out of my house, mate. And Elevate now in a 5 versus 2. Surely this is where the trend breaks. But Ethan, he hasn't died yet. And I don't think he has any intention to this round.
He's going to need a couple more kills to add on to his tally of 9 if he's going to get out of this one alive. Wildcard, I don't want to say they've thrown this round, but it's been a bit unconventional, at least not like the 5 rounds that we've seen from them so far on their defense. They can afford to drop 1 or 2 or even 3 for that matter. Dev, when you're up 5-0, 30 seconds left in round 6, they're not sweating bullets too much. The fire in the kitchen is just too much though for Ethan this time around. He gets burnt out, burnt alive. Elevate will take the final round of the half. Unfortunately for them, they're down 1-5.
You got to start somewhere though, Xenox, and I mean that's what a near flawless round there for Elevate. It's one way to get back into it. We know how much things can turn when the tide shifts, and Maybe that could be all that Elevate needs to get back into the game. Of course, I'm a skeptic here. Unless if Elevate are going to bring out some crazy looking defense. There's a bit of BM from God Legion saying, you bring the cap can, this is what we're going to do to you. He's going to pick the cap can. No doubt that'll be a 6 pick there, and it is. Bit of a reminder to Wildcard that they did lose that round, and well, we will need to see Wildcard convert their success from defense onto the attack.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Shouldn't be too difficult for them. Fair to say. Although, when it's your map pick, and you have elected, hey, we're going to go to Villa, you've got to have something up your sleeve, and this is where now Elevate can implement that. Going down the first floor, into the kitchen, into the fire. The control on this second floor is going to be super vital. We saw it actually, Elevate gave us a great demonstration of that in the last round, in fact, Dev.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah. Elevate did a great job at punishing all those players from Wildcard. And there was really no opportunity for a refrag there. We saw, you mentioned how Geo was playing in Library, using those impact grenades to try to get something through the floor, and it just wasn't happening. I like the use of these soft barricades just to delay a bit of time and give your team a bit of a sound cue if the attackers try to push that direction. Geo's currently actually droning in through Library, and it looks like most of Wildcard are forming up on that west side to push in on the first floor. Emo in as well. So unlike Elevate, who always push on that second floor study where Worthy is currently holding, Wildcard are just making very swift entrances through Mudroom and through Library as well. A good first step, and it looks like they're ready to hit the site hard.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're opening up the map a bit more than Elevate, who were quite congested at times and very concentrated into singular areas, or a bit one-directional. Except for that last round, that last attacking round, I thought was a lot more clean from Elevate. They had more control. But it seems like Wildcard are more than happy to just, as you said, push straight on onto this first floor. You'd expect to still see some presence from the second floor at some point from somewhere. Maybe Diesel, but Diesel's got the diffuser, so curious to see how he's going to elect to push in. Drones out this eastern side. Hat repelling G is going to come back out, so kind of a push in and then a push back out. With 1:45 seconds remaining, Wildcard seem not so convinced here, or they've got it all primed and set up and they've already just ticking the last few boxes as they then push in at the last second.
It's getting too late, really, for Wildcard to consider going for that map control. There are 3 players from Elevate still upstairs, so Wildcard's going to prioritize just going straight into the bomb site. They do have to be careful, though. Angles can be generated from above, but Pat finds that first player. It's God Legion. He was roaming upstairs, so till 2 on site. But in closing on this bomb site is Wildcard and ready, enabling more rotations in. They have to be cautious of vertical angles from those roamers. And the possibility for a retake, but numbers advantage still in favor of Wildcard.
Especially if they're just going to be pushing straight onto the site. This is where the numbers advantage is going to pay dividends more than anything. If they're roaming around, if they're trying to clear roamers themselves, then it's a lot of 1v1s, a lot of duels will take place. Yeah, you'll have some trades, but at least Vast is able to find a trade after a bit of time. Unfortunately for Ethan, didn't watch above. And from basically heaven, Digital sends him a warning. He's standing still in my yard. Imran found a kill, but it's now just that 20-second meta style of push in. 20 seconds left remaining. Find some frags, try and even it up. Get those trades if possible, and that's exactly what Wildcat have been able to do. Unfortunately for Pat, he's by himself. Geo's injured. And in 1 versus 2 against Vast and Worthy, does have the diffuser, can stick it if he can feel like he's got a bit of breathing room. Shoots straight through the wall, gets Worthy. Triple kill, now can go for the diffuser. Pushing in his Vast. No, he's going to let him get the plant down.
Oh no, he gets off the plant last second. Oh no! Why would you do that? I mean, he was probably going to die anyway. He still had like 2 seconds left, but come on, you got to commit, mate. But hey, I mean...
Well, you say that, but I don't know. He definitely didn't seem like he knew where Pat was. Still kind of just glancing around the room.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an excuse there for Pat. I just don't. And that's the double-edged sword for Wildcard of not contesting that top floor. We saw how much of an impact Digital could have all the way from Stat looking through the Sheets room over the wall He managed to get 1 kill, was eventually refragged, but did get a bit dangerous there. I like this 6 pick from Elevate onto that mirror. Wonder where we'll see them placed for this aviator defense. Likely just to be on these key walls into the bomb site, well, out of the bomb site rather. Looks like Vast is opening a few just now. Okay, so one maybe on the bar wall that Digital's reinforcing at the moment. What about the second one though? So that other wall into B was reinforced from the opposite side, so definitely not going to happen there. Maybe both mirror windows placed on this wall, looking into study. Maybe one for the roam. Yeah, it is. There's a mirror window going out to hold Master by the looks of it. Or is it to hold... No, here we go. It's... Oh.
I feel like
I'm
you're
just
guessing at this
speculating
point.
here. So, mirror window here in stat is going to hold the Astro and bathroom push. But of course, it needs to... Digital needs to be careful because he could get pushed as well from... Oh, whoever's playing that mirror could get pushed from Master in towards stat. So, I like the idea there. Second mirror window placed on site. Wildcard's going to have to spot this out and decide how to deal with it.
A bomb has been located.
You wonder how much of that mirror window actually over in stat is going to be utilized. You can see God Legion kind of just sitting behind it for now. They can then fall back away from it. I mean, the mirror window setup like that can be concerning. If you like to push in, you see it, and you think, all right, well, there's someone around here. But if Wildcard take their time, a lot of this also depends if they push in from that stat side. But if you see it, you can fall back all the way back over to the south side, and they can just buy time just by being there, I guess. But first floor again for Wildcard. We saw it in that last round. Not electing to push straight for that second floor. They'll take control of the first floor. We'll see how it plays out for them in round 8. 2 rounds in a row now for Elevate. Are they building something here? A comeback potentially.
Now I can see why Elevate banned out that bark. It's to protect their mirror windows, which otherwise could be exposed from below. And look, Wildcard could just shoot downstairs through the floor and destroy some of those mirror windows, but they don't seem to be very aware of it at this point. Bit of an unorthodox push for a Wildcard, but Diesel here opening up some long angles into Vault as well as into the pool table room as well in games. Exposing a lot of positions, but that's all the hard breach exposed. Going to be a freebie there for Diesel onto red, and that's a good way to kick things off, but still they need to convert that.
Wildcard weren't able to convert, as you say, in that last round by getting an opening pick. So still a lot of work to be done for Wildcard. Only 50 seconds of time. And Worthy is on the move here over at Red Stairs. Can have a very big role to play if he can catch someone off guard. That's Geo. Takes a tag but falls back and is able to avoid going down. God Legion, of course, going to be roaming around on the Vigil too. So Wildcard may have an opportunity to get onto site. Elevate would be immediately ready for a retake, but at the most part, Elevate should be able to find some roamers. Wildcard roaming around near the site. Immoran's able to get Vast. Is the round slipping away from Elevate? It seems that's the case because Ethan is on the cards. He's on the case. 1-5 remaining. The mirror turnaround somehow doesn't even get the kill. Flawless round deserved anyway as Geo takes out Digital.
And maybe there were 2 rounds there where Elevate could get a look in, but we're on match point here for Wildcard. Elevate decided to take us to Villa. Maybe an ill-advised decision because Wildcard have made this look like their playgrounds. Not only have they done a good job of bringing to the table some new and innovative strategies, but they have also found ways to counter everything that Elevate has brought. And that round going flawless is just something that Elevate cannot afford to lose at this point. They'll have to see 4 rounds in a row just to get a look in here for overtime. But Xenox, I don't think it's possible. I think Elevate will hang their heads low after this game and be thinking nervously about their matches next week against Okami for their chances, their last chance.
And defuse bombs.
Last chances, of course, next week.
To keep...
The big chance was this week.
So...
Can I just ask, where is your mute button? Because
It's what happens is I have my mouse moused over it, and then every time I accidentally knock my mouse, I click it.
Well, maybe
I'm
don't
sorry.
put your mouse helmet over it.
But what if I need to cough really quickly?
You're a big boy. You'll figure it out. 2-6 though, wild card. Well, they've definitely figured out Villa,
10 seconds left before insertion.
and it puts a bit of a warning to everyone else that their map pool is deep, it's rich, it's
seconds to
resourceful,
insertion.
and it's going to be really hard to knock them off going into
Attackers are
the
moving out
playoffs,
to
into those
locate bombs
final
and
four.
defuse it.
I don't think that anyone would be remiss in saying that they would probably be considered the best team when it comes time for those playoffs. Wildcard should be all but cemented, you'd think, Dev, once they get this map win.
And Wildcard, I think after this, will retake that top spot on the standings over Sinister, who was just keeping it warm for them yesterday. But Elevate, I mean, the game's not over yet, and it's not just here for the potential of that map win, but every point counts here. Every round counts, and if Elevate, they can get a few more rounds on the board, it'll look a little bit better for their round differential. Of course, this is a defense of stat and trophy. Wildcard looking to form up around this master bedroom side. Elevate feeling the need to make some kind of a play, but what is it? What is the answer here?
Is the answer to be aggressive, keep just sort of throwing everything at Wildcard that you've got? Roam potential, or do you turtle? I mean, we haven't seen really much turtling at all on Villa. A lot of reasons for that, but you never know. If you're going to sort of try everything, there's something that hasn't really been tried and tested so far. Long angle opened up for Diesel, although this time around doesn't find an immediate pick. And the match point when you're down 6-2, in Elevate's case 2-6, is just such a daunting task. Knowing even if you win this round, you've got so many more that you have to achieve. It's a long way back up to the top.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Pat droning up here on 90 window for Ethan and Imarin, who have pushed in through the bathroom. Ethan safe from C4s in the shower. Ethan spots out one player while droning out two players, in fact, and Imarin and Ethan ready to explode here onto the bomb site. I think that was a shield destroyed now. Imarin is ready to throw out this grenade at the rotate hole. Don't think it's a proper rotate hole. Ethan files in, and this is always the man we need to watch. Spraying on towards the statue. 45 seconds left, but Wildcard, they're not waiting for it to happen. They're going to take matters into their own hands.
Unfortunately, not the way that they would have liked, though, as the start goes in favor of Elevate. 35 seconds remaining. The push is unsuccessful from Wildcard. Regardless if they want to take matters into their own hands or not, at least Elevate have been able to respond in a very calm manner here. In the last 20 seconds, they would have been expecting that push to come in from Wildcard. They were ready for it. Even though this hasn't quite gone their way, the map as a whole, this round was much better on the defensive side. Gio, last one alive, and he won't be alive for much longer. He'll find a few display kills towards the end here, but nothing more, nothing that's going to achieve a win. So 3-6. Round 9 goes the way of Elevate.
It was a nice idea there for Emo and Ethan pushing in aggressively, but they were a bit distracted there when God Legion pushed up from the Astro stairs and took out their teammate of Pat. And from that point on, I mean, I think the jig was up. Elevate was well aware of the push Wildcard attempted to do, the ground they attempted to take advantage of, and they had an appropriate answer. But now, a reattempt of the Aviator Games Room. This was a flawless round for Wildcard. Just 2 rounds ago, and now Elevate looking to reattempt, hopefully, to some more success. Perhaps the Kaid is the answer to the Habana X-Kairos pellet placement from Diesel. Repelling on the 90 window, he exposed any position inside of Vault, and also got a kill on Games. But hopefully Digital will be a bit more aware that that's where Diesel wants to place his X-Kairos, and he can counter it with an Electric Claw.
We say it all the time, but if you are going to mount the comeback, one by one round at a time, will get you there eventually. And if you sort of have these short-term goals, let's say for Elevate's sake, all right, we win the next 2. 5-6 doesn't look so bad. We've seen a whole bunch of 5-6s week in, week out that then turn into overtimes. if you get to that 5-6, it's only one more round after that. You've done the work.
10 seconds.
So for Elevate's sake, they've played this really well to not give up, not look like they've given in. Still trying everything here. And I thought they played that last round perfectly, expecting the wildcard push. They were ready for it, dealt with it. Not sure if wildcard are going to make the same mistake again here. They need to be more methodical with their pushes. At the same time, they also need to make sure they're not leaving it to the last second, because it makes it so much easier then for Elevate to hold what few angles there are.
Worthy and God Legion are roaming here. They've decided to abandon that mirror strap, but I will point out that was, and our observer Marshall was showing it. It was a really nice placement of the Electroclaw from Digital. The wall was reinforced from the study side, and then he destroyed the soft part of the wall and put that Electroclaw actually inside. Immorin's taken out through the floor, I think. Oh no, that was potentially from the bottom of red stairs. Worthy though, keen to secure that kill. Doesn't know that he's got the injure, I don't think. Gio's going to get this revive, nice and safe. Wildcard once again doing this first floor push, going bottom up rather than trying to take directly from study, at least for now. But surely they can't just repeat the same attack that happened last round. Digital will surely have an Electroclaw to counter those X-Kairos from Digital. Diesel, rather.
Immorin's got to be so careful now towards the back end of this round as he elects to then open up floors, walls, wherever. Can't be too aggressive now on that sledge, and that's due to the fact he's so low health. Mentioned it might have been red stairs. I swear it might have actually just been a shot through the floorboards. It was opened up. Ethan just going to hold this angle and trophy on the second floor. Minute 20 seconds remaining. Wildcard left it late in the last round. That played into the hands of Elevate. May just happen again here. And the 4-6 scoreline then becomes a bit daunting then for Wildcard. Surely a throw is not going to happen. They only have to win one more round. It's going to be difficult. Elevate going to give it everything they've got. So much on the line for them. One more minute here. It's another late push, but this time they'll find the opening frag. That's going to give them the numerical advantage going into these last 50 seconds. Pat swings in, gets the diffusers, time to push.
And there we have Ethan, good for 2 kills. 5 versus 2 now. A flawless round previously. There was no adaptation from Elevate, and it looks like this is where Wildcard makes their statement, pushing on in a 5 versus 1. Red, what have you got for us? Absolutely nothing. Flawless round 2 times in a row, and that's Wildcard taking the opposition's map pick 7-3.
As soon as you see Ethan in the kill feed, you know things are going to go the way of Wildcard. He had an exceptional series, not just on Villa, but even on Consulate, really tying into Wildcard's domination in this matchup. 2-0. A lot of people had some draws, devs. We both suspected a wildcard win. 7-3 in the end on Villa. And Elevate must be feeling distraught after losing that, not getting anything.
It's a bit of a slump that we see Elevate in at the moment, but for Wildcard, it's fantastic to see they're finally out of their own slump, because remember, coming into 6 Masters, Wildcard had their worst ever Pro League season in Season 11. It was just absolutely horrendous. They sunk out of not only that top 1, top 2 spot that they were really gunning for, but they sunk all the way down to, I believe, 5th place. I'm just going to double check that right now. Indeed, they ended up in 4th place in the last Pro League season after reaching such great heights of the Pro League finals in Tokonome and 6 Invitational. And Wildcard finally in 6 Masters here. They have made their mark, and they are currently the kings of Oceania.
Well, the ticket down below says only dropping 3 rounds on Villa. At one point, it was 5-3 on Consulate. From that point onwards, we saw it go all the way to Wildcard. Ended up dominating. It was like 11-3, I guess. Yeah, just quick maths in my head. Very convincing. Very, very convincing. Consulate was very much a roller coaster. Both sides had moments where they were in control, getting 3 rounds in a row in Wildcard's sake, and then 5 in a row for Elevate, and then another, 4 in a row going to Wildcard. But Villa was very much the opposite. It was all just one-sided. It could have easily been 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, I think, is fine. That's definitely, the scoreboard's doing justice there. But wildcard 2-0, Elevate. Now their chances of top 4 slim to none. After a great start to the season in this Six Masters season, they have, as you said, gone in a bit of a slump.
It makes you a bit worried for Elevate, doesn't it? Because for a while they were actually at the top of the standings, at the top of the leaderboard, and things were only going to get more and more difficult at the end of the season. And I mean, that's where we are right now, when still Okami to go, and Elevate sitting with 15 points at the moment. Pittsburgh Knights is ahead of them in 4th place at 18 points. I mean, it's looking to be a very difficult climax to this season, but there is still next week to make up for it.
We've got our interviews, of course, as always. The first one might be a bit somber. Digital from Elevate. Mate, a bit of a rough series for you guys. It looked like there was a beacon of hope on Consulate. That was quickly flushed out. In the end, it wasn't to be, and then Villa definitely didn't go your way.
Yeah, like Consulate, we were definitely there. Like the map was there for the taking. But yeah, we just fell out. They did really good to sort of reassess how they were attacking, and yeah, they definitely just like ran it back, I guess.
So Villa was a bit of a gamble for you guys. The last time you'd played it was in January, so it's not like there was any VODs for wildcard to counter strategy. You guys bet on, there was also not a lot of VODs from those guys before. They hadn't really been picking it recently. Last time they played it, they did lose it though. Was it that weakness that you saw from their previous VOD that made you want to go there? Or can you maybe talk us through a little bit of the thought process behind picking Villa, and then what actually happened when you got into the server? Because it wasn't maybe what you're expecting.
Just like the thought process behind that was like, we were like sort of reinventing our Villa a little bit. So we thought we had confidence in sort of taking to them. And we knew it wasn't their, one of their stellar maps. We didn't like go into it thinking, it's one of their bad maps, but we thought, with a bit of, reinventing from our side, we just thought we could take it to them. I think they have a pretty good map pool. They pretty much like everything except for border, so it's definitely more. It comes from more like the opposition. Like they've got to be confident in their map to take it to wildcard. So, I mean, they did well on Villa. I think as well, just sort of the intensity from our side. After that first map, following into the second, it's always hard to sort of roll up the boys, especially after the 5-3, comeback that they made. So, I think the Villa, it wasn't really a strong showing for what we've like sort of what we were doing in Villa in like scrims and that, but it is what it is, I guess.
Mate, I'm not going to bore you too much with the maths. You've of course only got one more series now. It's against Okami, which is fortunate. If you are able to 2-0 them, then it all comes down to round differential. But you've been in a bit of a slump recently. 6 out of the last 7 maps have all been losses. What's sort of in the, I guess, the thought process off the back of that, now going into your final match where you've got no choice but to turn it around and find 2 maps?
100%. I don't know. We're just not ourselves. Like, this is not us 100%. Like, we know we're much better than this. We just got to sort of reassess our situation and, take a step back, I think. This season is definitely not an indication of what kind of team we are. But the last 2 games, it's out of our hands now. All we can do is, have a really strong showing against TBD, sort of prove ourselves, and then it comes down to other games. But we're gonna work. I mean, we're gonna work as hard as we can to sort of get the 2-0 against TBD. But definitely sort of take a step back, reassess everything, and just talk it out, because we are not playing well. It's safe to say we are not. We're just not playing well.
I know that you guys will definitely give it your all next week against Okami. Best of luck then, mate.
Thanks, boys. Cheers to the cast.
Cheers. Very much strong words said by Digital, and correct words as well in that, Dev. You probably have to agree with that they're not playing at their best right now. Wildcard was always going to be a tough ask, and the damage, I think, for me was done in the last few weeks when they just weren't able to beat teams that are maybe considered more on their level, or at least competing at around the same point this season of Six Masters.
Yeah, it's not the first time that Elevate have dropped maps to a team they really thought they shouldn't have, and there's been quite a few fairly one-sided games that they've lost this season. It started with LFO. They lost 7-2 on Clubhouse, which probably shouldn't have even gotten through the ban phase. It was the only time Elevate didn't ban Clubhouse. They were punished for it, so a bit of an oversight, but surely they can move on from there. They had a couple wins under their belt. They dropped a game to Sinister on their own map pick of Border, and then Knights last week was just atrocious from Elevate. I think that was really the start of things looking down. They didn't get a single map off of Knights, and one of those was 7-2 against them on Cafe. So, I mean, Elevate are definitely in a slump at the moment. Not getting any points on the standings for tonight is definitely going to make it tough for them. But on the flip side of things, for Wildcard, things are really looking up at the moment. And I think that a lot of people are going to be happy to see Wildcard revitalized and ready to take on anything that anyone else can throw at them.
Yep, definitely agree. The next interview that we've got coming up should hopefully be a little bit more of a happier one with Silex, the team coach from Wildcard. Welcome, mate. You got to be happy. Firstly, you're back in first position as well on the standings. Everything's going great. Still only dropped one map. You must be pleased with how that was played out on both Consulate and on Villa.
Yeah, really happy with the boys. It's nice to be back in first place. I believe those 2 wins guarantee us top 3, if my maths are correct. So yeah, already better than the outcome of last season.
Fantastic. You guys were in a bit of a slump for quite some time. I know I've spoken to quite a lot, and whether it's Tokoname, where you guys did really well, but was still in a bit of a slump. Six Invitational didn't work out so well. Pro League Season 11 was the worst we'd ever seen you guys. How does it feel now to finally, retake that mantle? And you guys are definitely in top form. What has been changing for you guys over the last few months?
Well, key difference is the lineup, of course. Boys are working hard, working a lot on individual plays, especially teamwork and communications. Yeah, can't really say much else other than that.
Just to go a bit more into the specifics, especially into the Consulate game, you guys at one point dropped 5 in a row to Elevate. What was sort of done to, I guess, adapt to that and then bounce back and get those last 4 rounds?
So the boys didn't really have their heads in the game. I heard just a couple of key issues. One round when we were attacking Garage, just we're not hitting the right steps. The default cam was left up till 30 seconds into the left of the round. So you can just tell Elevator's just okay, no, default cam's still up, I'm on it. Just sit tight, let them tick the clock down. We don't have to move. And it's just stuff like that where we're stalling out. It's really costing us rounds. But at the same time, you could see that we were taking the initiative on gunfights, getting the first shot most of the time, but just not hitting the shots. But yeah, managed to bounce back, got the win, and that's all that really matters in the end.
Certainly so. I mean, winning sort of fixes everything, and you guys are doing a lot of that recently. You've got 2 more matches next week. Best of luck, mate. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, look, when you're sitting in Wildcard's position, Silex, as he said, thinks he's mathematically they've got top 3 locked up. Probably have. I wouldn't be surprised if that stat is correct with where they're sitting on, 24 points, and they've still got 4 matches to play. They're so far in front. It's incredible, Dev.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to be backing themselves going into next week. They've got 2 more games, Knights and Okami. Okami in particular is set up to be quite a difficult game, but I have confidence in Wildcard, and I think that they could definitely finish the rest of the season potentially even flawless. That's on the agenda for them now.
Well, don't go anywhere. As we do go to a break, we've got one more series on the other side. Ferox and Kanga, the bottom 2 will duke it out.